about repurposing your content, regifting your content. And later on, we're going to be hearing from a trademark lawyer about how to protect your content. So this is going to be so fun. Let's see who is here. The BeLive team is here. Say hello when you log in. And don't forget, this is your last day to be eligible to win 3 years of free live streaming with BeLive. Who would love that? 3 years of free live streaming with BeLive. That is valued at $900. All you have to do is comment LiveCon in the chat and you will be automatically entered to win. I'm going to do that giveaway at the end of today's afternoon session. We also wanted to remind you about the big news that we announced this morning, 1080p and also streaming to YouTube. Those aren't ready quite yet, but if you join our BeLivers group on Facebook, you will be the first to know when everything goes live. Awesome. So our first guests are happily waiting in our staging area, and I am going to bring them on. Please get ready to welcome Chrissy Buck, Matthew Hughes, Dan Willis, and May King Sang. We are going to be talking about regifting your content, and I'm going to bring them all up. I'm going to have to exit because I can only hold 4.
Hey everyone, I am Chrissy Buck and I am the Chief Community Officer for Quick. Hey Matt.
Hello.
Hey Dan.
How's it going?
Good. Oh, there we go. Hi, Making.
Hi, how we doing?
I am so happy to be hanging out with you guys today. We're going to be talking about repurposing your content, but you know, when I woke up really early this morning and I was chatting with you all, I was like, I get to hang out with my friends today. So this is super awesome. So let's just jump in. The first question I have is, why is posting content consistently important? And Dan, I'm going to shoot that over to you, and then Making and Matt, you can jump in.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as I see it, content's made to create conversation with community, and the more frequently you're in conversation with people, the deeper that relationship is going to go. So imagine somebody you see once in a blue moon, you probably don't talk to them that much, and that relationship is a sign of that. It's not deep. You can't really know the ins and outs of what's going on with them. So having that consistent release of content, it just enables you to know your community better, to build deeper relationships, and that brand awareness is going to be there in a really powerful way.
Yeah, and so Dan, will you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Dan Willis. I'm the Millennial Motivator. If you are on Twitter at all, you've probably seen a video reply somewhere from me. The reality is, what I love to do with corporations is help them understand how investing in your community and building those relationships as a brand is a long-term investment for serious gain.
Awesome. Awesome. How do you feel about posting content consistently, Making?
Oh, it's very important. And, you know, consistency, there's a difference between consistency and how frequently you should post, because, you know, people do get pressured into, oh, I feel I should post 3 times a day or 10 times a day or whatever it is. And so that's not important. The important is consistency. So, I mean, there were times when earlier in the year where I got a little busy and I didn't post for a few days. However, when I came back online and did post, I didn't lose my audience because people have, you know, see a lot of what I do. So as Dan said, you know, if you do lose your audience a little bit by not posting consistently, then, you know, you can disappear. However, that said, it is possible for you to, you know, to improve your social media and get the audience back up. I mean, I had a personal setback, and so I disappeared from social media for 2 years. But when I came back online, I was able to rebuild my audience. I can see Matthew going, "Oh wow, 2 years!"
2 years is a long time.
Yeah, so it is absolutely possible. I had to be consistent, and I was more strategic. that enabled me to have a captured audience, and hopefully I provide value in what it is I do. So,
and what is it that you do? I think you have a pretty awesome career.
So my name is Making Sang. My first name is Making, and I am a FOMO creator. And what that means, is that I capture the excitement of a conference or an event and put it out onto social media live. So whether that's through live tweeting, whether it's through my interviews, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or all of the above. And
you have created a lot of FOMO for events, including you are going to be creating FOMO for Youpreneur, right?
Yes, I am. I'm so excited.
Not jealous. Not jealous.
Yeah. Okay. So, Matthew, you have been creating content. I see you over on Instagram. Is that your favorite platform? No,
Facebook is my favorite platform. I did 6 months of Facebook Lives every single day a year or two ago. Probably when Making wasn't around, if she disappeared for 2 years. So you missed them all, Making. You missed them all.
Oh, darn it. I'll catch the replays.
So I guess that would lead me into my next question then, Matt. Quality over quantity. In a world where we have content creators like Gary Vee who are creating tons and tons of content, do you agree that I'm seeing a shift myself in more content creators are creating volume rather than quality pieces of content? What do you think about that?
Well, the problem with the question is it asks, the real question there is, should you be perfect or not? I think that's the thing. I talked about this in my group just a minute ago, actually. Quality over quantity. I guess quantity doesn't really matter. Quality doesn't really matter. I think it's just about getting there and doing it. And I think a lot of people, they focus on quality and think, well, I need to be perfect. My environment needs to be perfect. My lighting needs to be perfect. My sound, all that kind of good stuff. And then that just stops them dead anyway. So, if the quality or quantity is not there because you're worrying about perfection and all the confidence and stuff that comes around that, you're just not going to post at all, right? So for me, I think it depends on the platform. I think things like stories, for example, you can be very imperfect on stories. It just doesn't matter. And you can post them like 50 times a day and no one really cares. I've seen some people that have got Instagram stories that are two videos long, and then others that have got like 20, whereas on Facebook, when I do Facebook Lives, I try to pay a bit more attention to what I'm doing and put a bit more effort in the Facebook Live. I mean, I did a Facebook Live. I'm in a hotel room. You can see I'm on holiday at the moment. Vacation, right, for Americans. But it is what it is. I've got to be here and do it. So I sort of got over that and just said, okay, let's just do it with what we've got. I've got my MacBook, everything I need, really. I know I've just avoided the question. I've avoided the question, right? Just answered the question I wanted to answer.
No, I think you answered it great. So what I heard from you is don't wait for your environment to be perfect. Yes. Just post. And I guess this goes back to consistency. So you just rebranded your business to the King of Video. So tell us about that real quickly.
Yeah, so I was kind of looking for a personal brand. If you search for Matthew Hughes, you'll find an author and you'll find a UFC fighter. And you can tell to look at me that I'm not a UFC fighter. So I needed to come up with something that was very catchy. And I managed, if you're looking for brands, you sort of search for the domain name, and then King of Video was available. So I was like, right, that's it, I'm having it. So I'm the self-proclaimed King of Video. There's plenty of people with more followers, subscribers, and all that jazz, but it's all vanity metrics, right? Like, I'm the king now. That's it. I've walked in, I've taken that, and I'm going to live with it. So, and it's worked. It's a good personal brand. People now come up to me and say, "Hey, Matt, it's the King of Video," when I walk into a networking event and that kind of thing. So I think from a personal brand, it just needs to be memorable. Dan, what did you call millennial motivator? Is that right?
That's
perfect, right? Like, it's memorable. Making's got all sorts of things going on with Making. She puts it everywhere. She's got the tea thing going on, the FOMO creator thing. It's got to be something memorable. So, yeah, I think that's why I did it in the end.
I love it. And I remember when you posted it, you were like, I was a little nervous about going ahead and jumping on this, but I did it. And I'm so glad that you did it.
Thank you.
Dan, what do you think about the Gary V volume of content that's going out?
Yeah, I love it. And I mean, the majority of the content that I put out is video replies. So I put out anywhere from 60 to 70 video replies a day when I'm on and doing it. So what I found is you never know what's going to create a conversation, what's going to engage people in any given time. So as long as what you're putting out has value and it speaks to your community, I think just go with it. And I love what Matt was saying about perfection, where, I've never seen a perfect piece of content ever. And so for me, it's more about, do you have something of value to add to a conversation, or do you have a valuable conversation that you want to get started? Great, do it. However you choose to do that, whatever medium you choose to use, put it out there. And there's a lot of people that hear quantity from Gary Vee and they've strayed too far the other way, where they're just putting things out because they can put things out. And it's demeaning in a way where, well, you're not respecting your community because you're not actually bringing any value. That was just a blanket statement. People move on. And you're also just not really bringing any insight into who you are as a person. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's don't err too far one side or the other, but definitely lean a little bit more to quantity, because you never know how you're going to engage people in the moment where they are.
Yeah. And, content is here and then it's gone, especially over on Twitter, right? Making, you create content in large volumes, so much that Twitter has blocked you. Right?
Yeah, so my proudest moment this year was tweeting for a conference, and I got blocked 3 times. I was tweeting so much they thought I was a robot, and then after a plea they realized, I am actually a real person, so they let me go back on. So yeah, I can tweet up to 1,200 times on average for a conference. And it really helps to amplify their message. But going back to the quality versus quantity thing, I'm actually going to respectfully disagree with Dan. Ooh, controversy! Just because when you're putting out content, people want to get to know who you are, and whether people regard it as value is actually down to the reader. Okay, so for myself, I don't put everything that I do a day, on social media. However, some of the things that I have beautifully crafted out, I think this is going to go really well out there. I get 2,000 reach, and then one day I'll put out something in line with the trending hashtag. So my greatest accolade was I think I posted on the same day as International Cat Day. Every day it's National Cat Day, and that had a reach of 20,000, and then I got a brief mention on radio too. So I think sometimes when we're putting out content, not to think too much, because people will have seen you at different stages of your journey. There will be people who don't know who I am, and if they see me for the first time, then they may want to get to know me as a person before they really understand what it is I do. So by putting out content that is, gives you a little insight into what I do. Today, for example, I've had a hurty shoulder for quite a while, haven't done anything about it. Decided to finally do something about it after 3 months, and posted something out about it on Twitter and Instagram. In fact, I repurposed it. And why did I do that? Well, just to show, a day in the life of an entrepreneur, and I did put my business first before my health, which is why it took me 3 months to get to getting a deep tissue massage. But it was incredible. That said, the video that I put out there, I love because it was a local business. I Googled, I put in some keywords in Google. I found them. They had a Google My Business page. They had Google reviews. incredible. I then clicked on their Twitter logo, because you know I love Twitter, and their phone number was right there. So it just absolutely sang and danced to me. So I rang them, made an appointment, and it was brilliant. So I kind of incorporated that as well. So whilst we, you know, I love Gary Vee, I really do. I was one of those who thought, oh my God, I don't like him. He's a bit sweary. And then eventually I realised that actually he's got a great message to put out there. Don't put pressure on yourself to put out 100 pieces of content a day, is what he's trying to advocate. Because we've got businesses to run. But put something out there. Don't worry about it being perfect, as Matt said. Provide value, but also, you know, put some personal bits and pieces in there as well, because people want to get to know who you are as a person before they even think about buying from you. So anyway, I'll shut up now.
Is that my mic? That's weird. Yeah, so I guess, you know, something that I struggle with here at Quick is I am the content creator here. You know, Jason's busy working on product. Taylor's busy working on developing relationships. Mike is doing the CEO thing. And so it's really up to me to create video, tweets, all of the things, right? So creating it at volume to stay relevant on social it's a lot of stress on me. And so I guess my question is, I've come up with some tools and some tricks on how to repurpose video. One thing I've been doing is going to conferences and interviewing as many people as I can while I'm there, and then coming home and chopping that up into smaller segments. You know, with Quick, we transcribe the video, and so I have the transcription. I pull out tweets from that. May King, you use a service that will create tweets for you. Is that Lately?
Yeah, so it enables me it uses AI to read a blog post that I may have written and generates tweets, or it can generate other social media posts for me as well, and then I can schedule that over time. So, you know, I wrote a LinkedIn article about Twitter 2 years ago, still relevant today. It's a great piece of content because I wrote it. But I want more people to read it. So I put it through Lately, and from that 1,500 word article, it's generated about 48 tweets, I think. And then I can schedule that to go out on any given period, which is incredible, which means that it's given me more connections, more followers, more readers, and more questions for people to ask about Twitter. So it's been great. So yeah.
I think that's awesome. And so that is a blog post that you wrote a couple of years ago, and yes, here you are repurposing it, reusing it. And so that's what I'm doing with video. Matthew, what tools are you using to repurpose some of your content so that you can create more content out of the stuff that you've already created?
I think I use one of the tools that Quick uses for you, Chrissy, and that is that I have a member of staff that does a lot of the work. But no, in all seriousness, I guess this is the biggest challenge that a lot of people face, is they feel like they need to create a whole bunch of content. And I guess Making comes at it from a different angle, because the way Twitter works and the volume there is very different to some of the other platforms. You can definitely still get away with creating one video a day or even one video a week, and changing that into a bunch of different content. Some of the ways Making was talking about, like you said with Quick, creating the transcription, getting the subtitles, all that kind of stuff. So I think really it's about having a plan in the first place. Who am I trying to reach? How am I trying to reach them? How often do I need to talk to them before I'm going to get some kind of rapport and before they're going to know, like, and trust me, right? And if you've got that in mind at the start, before you just start plowing ahead, creating a whole bunch of content, then you can have sort of a more structured view of what you need to put out. And we do this in our office. You know, we with my apprentice who's managing our social media content at the moment, I kind of sat down with him and I said, right, this is the king of video brand that we've got. This is what we want to put out. We batch filmed, and I'm going to talk about batch filming shortly as well, but we batch filmed 10 videos. And then I said, these are the things that I want you to cut up from those 10 videos to give us a month's worth of content, because I knew I was going to be away in Florida for 2 weeks. I thought I would suffer not putting as much social content out. You know, actually, I've put on more social content since I've been away. It's amazing what happens when you go on holiday, right? But, you know, I wanted to make sure that everything was still going. The machine was still turning. So that all came down to the fact that before we did any content creation, we had some kind of plan. And I'm not talking about analysis paralysis or anything like that. It's just having some kind of plan and structure to what you're going to do before you start tweeting about the beer that you've just drank or the M&Ms that I've just eaten or anything like that.
Yeah. Dan, what tools are you using to repurpose your content so that you're working smarter and not harder?
I like how Matt brought up multiple platforms, and that's one that I like to use as far as repurposing content. So typically I'll create something that's a little bit more quality leaning. So a longer YouTube video or a fairly lengthy blog post, or LinkedIn article. And then I'll take that long form content that I've dedicated time into, and I'll actually chop that up into snippets to redistribute across other platforms. And for me, where I'm kind of somewhere in between here, where I'm doing it for the most part myself, occasionally I'll have somebody help me out. It's nice for me to have that mix of, if I want somebody else to chop something up, but I want to be sure that it's got my voice to it, I can take a long form piece of content and say, just pull from this, take sound bites from this, take blurbs from the blog or the LinkedIn article, and use those to create content to go back out. So whether that's, you use Photoshop to make an image that you can put into an Instagram story or a Twitter post, you throw that into Facebook. They've got that great new feature on the business pages where you can add that into the business story and have that there for people to see. So for me, it's really about, yes, take the time, once a week, depending on how busy you are, maybe twice a week, create that really great long piece of content that's got the time and the energy put into it. And then use that to make your short form content across all of the different platforms.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of questions. Let's see, Samuel Verrett, he says that this is really great material and information, and he keeps forgetting to post messages because he's taking so many notes. So good job, you guys. But he is also wondering if you guys have teams that you work with. Are you doing all of this on your own? And as a one-man band, sometimes he feels overwhelmed in creating content. And he's doing more and more live streams because he finds it fits his personality and skill set.
I'll take that one, Samuel. Hi there. Thank you so much for your comments. I am a one-man band, so I will have a think about what I'm going to be posting. It's easier when I'm at an event because I tend to listen to the speakers, or I might do a quick video on do an interview with somebody that I've just met and post onto Instagram or LinkedIn. But I am a one-man band, so I create all of my content. Now, I'm not as organized as Matt, where I would plan. So that is something that I am going to be improving on. And in fact, Chrissy and I were going to an event which will help us to plan our social media content for 2020, right? So I'm actually looking forward to that, because I'm going to try something different, actually try and plan my social media. But no, Samuel, I think that because I think about my business all the time, so I do have a headspace where I think, well, will this provide value? Will this enable people to get to know who I am and just post it on the fly generally? And because what I do as a FOMO creator, I do post lots of stuff on the fly for events. It kind of helps me to keep in that realm, as it were. I don't feel overwhelmed by content, though, Samuel. I think that will definitely lead you into procrastination, and you may stop. Matthew talked about perfectionism, and we should definitely not compare ourselves to anybody else as well. Just keep doing what you're doing. Try not to get overwhelmed too much. But if you are a planner, do plan it ahead. If you're not a planner, that's okay too, because I've managed to get away with it so far.
Dan, do you post on the fly, or do you plan it out?
Yeah,
schedule out your stuff?
video replies by nature are going to be on the fly. It's as it happens in the feed, and the Twitter feed goes pretty fast. Same thing with conferences. I know May and I, if we're ever overlapping on a conference, she and I are right there going at it in the feed. But for my clients, that's another side of the business that I do. And for them, I work with teams on that. So it's really, I kind of do a bit of both. I'm in both worlds. And I do prefer the live in the moment tweeting and video reply, just because it has that natural in the moment feel. I find people are a little bit more forgiving too. And it's that in the moment reply. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be just there and people accept it. But
freeze.
you just ask yourself who's putting that demand on you, right? Like, who's forcing you to put that content out? Your community's not going to know if you didn't drop it, but they're going to appreciate it when you do. So just take the foot off the gas pedal for a second, have a breather, enjoy the rest stop, and then get back at it.
Yeah. So one of the tools that we've started using here at Quick is AgoraPulse. Do any of you use AgoraPulse?
Yep. Love AgoraPulse.
Love it. I posted a video last night. It was an interview that I did at an event, and I went ahead and scheduled that out to go out every other month. And, you know, like some people might see it twice, but Mel Robbins, she's like a life coach. She now has her own television show. She was really big on Instagram. She's written some books that are fantastic. She posted a video a few months ago. I watched it. It resonated with me. Forgot about it. Saw it again a few weeks ago. And so I'm like, if it's okay with Mel Robbins, it's okay with Chrissy Buck.
Yep.
So I love that feature in AgoraPulse that I can just create one piece of content, and now it's gonna show up again in 2 months, and then 2 months after that. And I think I can schedule it out for like 5 times or something like that. So over the next 10 months, it'll be seen 5 times. Matt, you talked about you schedule your stuff out. Do you do anything on the fly, or do you schedule everything out?
I mean, Dan and May King are talking about events, right? And you know, they're both relentless at these things, right? Like, there's no better or worse way to put it. And you know, I find that in life generally, when you're at places like I'm in Florida, I'm at the Disney parks, you know, like these, it's easy to make posts when I'm at the Disney parks. You know, there's stuff going on all the time. When I'm sat at home in my living room and I've got nothing to do that day, it's very hard. They're the times where all of a sudden you've got to create content, because the rest of the time the content is being created for you. You're just documenting what's going on around you, right? So I think for me, like I said, I knew that I was away for the 2 weeks. So having that view that I would probably create less, which in hindsight was not the case, I just wanted to make sure it was there. So I think you can do the same in life. If you know that you're going to events, well, there's things that lead up to events. I went to Vid Summit that's on this week in LA. I went last year. I met a whole bunch of cool people there. Had I have not done the work on Twitter the week before, I wouldn't have met those people. In fact, me and you, Chrissy, would not have known each other at all, because it was via Rob who I met at that event. So yeah. I think having a bit of foresight to think about what's going on, overwhelm's a funny thing, because overwhelm usually becomes from the fact that it's all in your head, right? Like there's a load of stuff going in your head. I like to get that stuff out, whether it's I'm a paperless guy, so I have OneNote that I use. People use Evernote. I try to get it all out onto some kind of list and then just reprioritize, right? For creating content, I'll do things like, who am I serving? How am I serving them? Why am I serving them? You know, what am I serving them? And I make lists for those things. You've got things like Answer the Public, answerthepublic.com, which gives you those questions and answers. By using the who, what, why, when questions, you can come up with a whole bunch of content and then go film it all as a batch thing if you want to do later on. So there's a couple of different things there of different answers to that question, but hopefully that helps a few people if you can take a bit of that.
Yeah, so whether you are scheduling it or you're doing it on the fly, you can repurpose that content. Yeah, Dan, I met you on Twitter. It was a video response, and I was in a restaurant, and I was like, hey, I can't hear you. You should use our captions. It was very cheap.
Very good. Always selling. Yeah, good.
But it worked.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny that May King is so, she's so she's always on Twitter, right? And so I met her at Social Media Marketing World, and I thought you were a speaker. Like, I wanted to hear from you on how you tweet so much. So whether you're scheduling it or it's on the fly, you can repurpose it. So Dan, let me kick this over to you. If somebody creates, let's go to Samuel. Samuel is now creating Facebook Lives, if I remember right. He's doing live video. How can he repurpose that live video into multiple pieces of content?
So Facebook Lives is not one that I've done a lot with, but I assume like every other platform out there, it has the ability to download that live afterwards. And what I love about a lot of the live video is the dialogue back and forth that happens with the community during the live. So for me, it's really this beautiful thing where if you can download that whole session afterwards, and there was a great question that popped up where you could provide insight, just download it and use whatever video editing tool you have to just cut that clip. Repost that out into your feeds, and you've got this great content that was doubled up.
Yeah. Matthew, what else can you do? I saw you put your hand up. Your favorite platform is Facebook. How would you repurpose a Facebook Live?
Hey, the first thing, Dan's absolutely right. There's two things that I do that are kind of key. The second one I don't do so much anymore, but I'll tell you about it anyway. The first thing is I talk to people as though they're going to watch the replay, right? The live audience is like 10% of 10% of 10% of your audience, or something like that. You know, it's the chance of you finding those people at that time. I got 4,000 friends on Facebook, you know, friends. But the chance of me hitting them at the right time is just like, it's just not going to happen. I get a handful of people there, but I always think about the replay audience. So I start my Facebook Live straight away. I don't wait for anything to happen. I start talking to them straight away. I ask them to do hashtag replay. I say that every time, right? Because then it just gets them talking to me. Like Dan says, that there's still that engagement that can go on way after. And then the other thing is, you know, you've talked about quick captioning stuff. What Quick also does, other tools do the same thing as well, is create SRT files, right? So you can go and take that file, put it onto your Facebook Live, and then not only are you giving the replay audience a chance to watch it later on, but they can also watch it when their wives are asleep next to them in bed, right? That's the reality of how people watch some of this content. So captioning it and adding it to the Facebook Live afterwards just opens you massively, like to 80% of the audience. It's crazy how many people are on the feed with sound off. So you should be doing that for every one of your Facebook Lives, and it's so quick and easy now, right?
Yes. Making, how would you repurpose a video that you've created into multiple pieces of content?
Well, I actually do, sometimes I do videos just from my phone and then upload it onto the various platforms, you know. So I would, record a video, caption it, put it out onto Twitter, and then put it out onto Instagram as a post, and then create a link to Instagram stories and also put it onto LinkedIn as well. So I've done that many times where I have created a video, put it in LinkedIn, written the long form, you know, a summary of what the video is all about, literally copy and paste that text, pop it into LinkedIn and upload the video, and then, you know, do the same with Twitter. It would generate maybe 7 or 8 tweets, something like that. So I do that often because I think 2-3 years ago we were told by the social media rock stars, you know, Facebook's for the cat videos, Instagram is for your Vogue type photographs, that kind of thing. Twitter's for the latest news. And I think what seems to be changing in the last sort of year or so is that people are actually putting in the same or very similar content across all platforms. And I think it makes sense because we do have our favorites and we do tend to stay in our favorite platforms. So if you are not putting, you know, if you're putting out one piece of content just onto one platform, you're missing out on the other people who may be following you on other platforms. So definitely repurpose it that way.
Yes, I agree. And, you know, my favorite platform has pivoted. You know, let's see, I would say a year ago it was Facebook. 6 months ago it was Instagram. Today, it's a mix between Twitter and LinkedIn. And it really is just, it's just wherever I connect best with the community at the moment. And right now, I mean, just this morning when I was up with the puppy at 4 a.m., I'm talking to Tim Lewis. He's sending me cat gifts. So, it's just wherever I'm connecting with the audience the best. And so you're absolutely right. You have to be willing to pivot as well. And you have to be willing to be on multiple platforms. I know that Andrew and Pete have the 90-10 rule, which I respect, especially when I feel overwhelmed by creating all of this content. But you can create one piece of content and you can spread it out over those platforms. You don't have to create, a separate blog post from a video, from, a number of tweets and Instagram, IGTV, whatever. You can use one video and create it multiple times. So one of the things that I do with our live videos, or even the videos that I create at events, is I will shoot them and then edit them, caption them. I pull the full transcription and I put it into a blog post. I embed the video from YouTube into that blog post. So blog post, check. And then I have my YouTube video, check. I change the format. I put it on Instagram TV, IGTV. And then I upload it also to the individual platforms, pull tweets from that transcription. I mean, and I've spent 30 minutes interviewing one person, and I've created multiple pieces of content. So it doesn't have to be overwhelming because you can reuse that over and over again. Also, I was going to mention that BeLive, if the people in the comments, and our viewers, if you are not using BeLive to do your live stream, Facebook will only let you download your Facebook Live video at like 720p, I think. But if you are streaming it through BeLive, you can go into your broadcast after your broadcast is ended and you can download it in high definition. So I really love that you get a really nice video after. Let's see. We have
Chrissy,
go ahead.
Can I just, I've just spotted one of the comments there. I know we're not talking about Facebook ads really, but Michelle Rudin there said you can create a custom audience of people that have watched your videos. I was talking about planning and being strategic about what you're doing. Like that's the perfect example of that, right? Mm-hmm. I created a series of video. It's called 21 Ways to Make Better Video with Your Mobile Phone, something like that.
I love those.
Forget what my own thing's called. But they're on my Facebook page, right? And the reason I did that, I put them out there. People are like, oh, why are you giving all this free good content away? And I'm like, because I can create an audience out of it. Like once they've watched the videos, now I can create an audience that have watched 2 or 3 of my videos, and now I know they're more invested in me, right? So that's the strategic nature to some of this stuff. I know this is not the platform to talk about that stuff, but I just wanted to sort of highlight that because Michelle's got a really great point. It's something people need to think about is we're not doing all of this stuff just for fun. I'm certainly not. I do have a lot of fun doing it, don't get me wrong, but I have a business, you know what I mean? Yeah. I have a business, we make video for a living. I want to make more money, so, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Mari Smith was on the AgoraPulse show, which Lisa, that's who we use here at Quick to schedule out our social media posts, is AgoraPulse. I cannot recommend them enough. But Mari Smith was on their live show a couple of weeks ago, and she talked about what you're saying, Matthew. She does live video. No, this was in the Social Media Examiner Facebook Ads Summit that they did. She creates live video, lets it sit for about 5 days, gets all the organic reach she can, and then she runs an ad. She runs it as an ad. So that's another way that you are repurposing that Facebook Live. Yeah. Does anybody else have any comments about repurposing your content for ads?
I don't, but Lisa McKenzie wrote a message. She said, I use Missing Letter to create scheduled content, but would like to check out others, as you've mentioned. Didn't catch names, maybe the accents. Oh, that's my British accent, Lisa. Chrissy talked about AgoraPulse, which is great for scheduling. And what I use is if I've got a blog post which I think has got great content in it, I will push it through a platform called Lately. And they are on all the socials as Try Lately. And then that will generate tweets for me or additional Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts. And I will schedule it from there. Schedule.
Yeah, another tool as well, one that I had used before I tripped across AgoraPulse was HootSuite, which is just very user-friendly as far as the interface goes. So if you're looking to try something that is just really, this is bare bones, this is how it works, you can get it out there, HootSuite's another great option that I know a lot of people use.
Is that Dan the millennial motivator talking about a tool that I used as a real old millennial, right? I just fit in. He's got a HootSuite t-shirt as well. Dan, I've got an extra level of respect for you now, my friend.
I always love to give the shout out to the Canadian folks doing great work. So they're their own BC. I love those guys. And yeah, AgoraPulse is another tool that I use now too. So Lately is the only amazing tool that I haven't got to play with yet, but I'm sure I can get a hold of Chris and figure that one out.
Yes, same here. Okay, so we've talked about all the nitty gritty stuff. One thing, I'm going to go on a rant here and talk about content that does not add value. And this is my Gen Z or my Gen X coming out. Gen Z. This is my Gen X coming out. I'm tired of inspirational quotes.
Oh no. How can you say that?
It's inspirational quotes. And I value inspirational quotes when I need to be inspired. But if you are just creating inspirational quotes to have something to post, oh no, just tell me what you had for lunch. I'd rather know that than,
oh dear,
being a hustler.
Two in one show.
Yeah, I mean, I put out one of those a day, but it's often when I'm having a hurdle. And this is one of the things that I've started to do, whether it's an anxiety point or I've got a flare up from PTSD or something throughout the day, whatever that trial is. I think back to create a post. But I like what May had said earlier of, she posted out, she had a sore rib or whatever. For me, that's shoulder. It was a shoulder. But for me,
my name's May King.
May King, I keep doing that. I'm so sorry.
So good, Sal.
Man,
so good, Sal.
Every time he says it, I'm like,
The motivational content that I put out there always, it's got that same feel that all the other ones do, where it's that image that's been created but I always like to give it that added copy as well to give people insights as to why the heck this is even going out there. So yes, the picture has the quote on it, but here's some insight into why that's relevant at all to me. And those ones, when I made that switch of just putting the post up there to adding that context to it, that actually seems to take something that's might as well be a cat meme and actually does give it that depth and value where people go, I can relate to that. The inspirational quote could just be another one in the feed, but that context of, oh, I've been there. I've been in that place. I recognize that trial, that struggle, or I recognize that success, that achievement, and that resonates with me. So I'm there with you. Just throwing up another Gandhi quote into the feed isn't necessarily going to be the great way to go. But when you provide your insights and your context around why that's of importance, I think that's a simple tool for everybody out there like myself who loves to post those motivational quotes. Add the context to it. It's not going to be as affronting to those that don't want to see it.
Do you know, I love that idea, Dan, and I think I might incorporate that into my strategy. I think it's incredible because, I think you're right, Chrissy. I think we are a bit quoted out. I think I've seen a massive drop in it in quotes in the last sort of 9 months, which is great. But it was one of those pieces of content where a lot of people were thinking, oh, what should I put out today? I'll put out a motivational quote. So I personally seen a drop in it, which is great. But I love the context, Dan. I really will. I think I'm definitely going to use that in the future because there are a couple of inspirational quotes that I have used, and it's actually helped me through my strategy. So one of the ones that I heard from a speaker a couple of years ago was from Muhammad Ali. And he said, it ain't bragging if you can back it up. And that had a massive, massive change in me, because being Chinese, I'm not supposed to, brag about things that I've done, because it's seen as showing off. And so, but in business, if we don't shout about how amazing we are, who is going to shout about how amazing we are? So, I can brag now because, I have been hired by Upreneur to be their FOMO creator. I have been hired by Andrew and Pete to be their FOMO creator. I'm going to Amsterdam in a couple of weeks. They're just facts. So, it really, really helped me. So I'm definitely going to use that and look at other quotes that have helped shape my business and maybe give the context of that. I love that, Dan.
I do too. It really helps you connect with your audience when you are sharing a little piece of you. And so I really love that you are sharing context around the inspirational quotes. So I will forgive you.
Can I defend motivational quotes, just Chrissy?
Please do.
I've got a really good reason. Right. So look, the thing is, right, we're all very fortunate people. The four of us are very fortunate because we're very far down a long professional development road. We're leading the way with certain things, right? But not a lot of people are at that part yet. And I think that's what a lot of people forget, because I see a lot of people bashing like gurus and that kind of thing, all the terms that have been overused and all that kind of thing. But they forget that a lot of people are just getting on this journey, just getting on the bus. And so sometimes when I say to people like imperfect action was something that I heard from somebody else, and that completely changed the way I do content when I realized it didn't need to be perfect. But I had to hear it 4 times. Like it wasn't the first time I heard it that it made the difference. I continued down the road and then I was like, oh, that's what that means. You're talking about bragging making because that's something in your culture, right? Or potentially in your culture. And it's a British thing as well, by the way. It's not just a Chinese thing. But, the bragging thing for me, like it's celebrating achievements. Like I love celebrating achievements, not just my own, but other people's. I'm delighted that you're the FOMO creator for Upreneur, even though you've told me 10 times. Like it's great. I see it everywhere. So you should, right? But the point is sometimes certain things need hammering home to you in your head a little bit, and it's only till you're ready to accept it that it actually makes that change happen in your head. So yeah, I get it. They're overused. It's like default social media content, but sometimes we still need them. So that's my little defense of motivational quotes. But we can still say they're rubbish and we should get rid of them. I agree. Okay, that's it.
There's a great conversation about content happening in the chat here between BeLive and everybody else is weighing in on hot trends in content. And I love the response Michelle gave here. A lot of times you hear this conversation with content right now about long form content, short form content. We've all heard that back and forth, but the amount of micro or nano, however else you want to tag it, that really small 15, 30-second form content that seems to be popping up absolutely everywhere. And yeah, stories is somewhere where you expect to see it, but now you're seeing it more and more. Even the YouTube, I don't know how many people use YouTube on mobile, but the amount of community posts that are flying into YouTube now, this nano micro content is really happening at a large scale across all the platforms. For me, I am loving how it's getting a lot easier to create content if all you're creating is 15 and 30 seconds at a time. So I definitely see that popping up, not just in Facebook or Twitter, which tends to be a shorter form content anyway, but across all the channels, even something like YouTube that's traditionally 10 minutes plus. Now we're seeing much shorter forms of content popping up into those feeds. So yeah, I love that that's where content is heading.
What about TikTok, Dan?
I love TikTok.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, I've got a whole whack of kids and they're all in that generation. So all 8 of those kids are going to be playing around on TikTok at some point. So I had to dive in and figure out what it was. 8, that's right. 8 kids. But what I love about TikTok is that it's been so widely accepted by so many internationally. So when I hop into a TikTok feed as even a relatively new user, I'm seeing all this great stuff from all over the world. And you get that feeling right away because there's so many different styles to it. You can kind of see geographically where people are from based off of the way that content is shot or the way that it's produced or the message that they're trying to get across. And I genuinely love that, where some of the networks I have that are more established, like LinkedIn, I know the kind of stuff I'm going to see. It all has a very similar feel and tone to it. TikTok right now, sky's the limit. Anybody can do anything they want on there. So it's kind of the wild west of content at the moment. And I really love what I'm seeing out of it.
Mint King, are you going to be using TikTok?
So I have to admit, I installed it because I can't remember who was waxing lyrical about it. Might have been Gary Vee. And I installed it and I looked at it for 5 minutes and I thought, what is it? What is this thing? So I think I may kind of, I don't want to get pulled into lots of different platforms. I'll maybe, when I found time to incorporate it, maybe, but not for right now. I don't think my target audience is in TikTok right now. But I did want to draw upon some of the comments that were made. I just wanted to say hi to Sebastian. I apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly, but you've raised some great points. You talked about, with regards to content, share your journey, not I am higher than you attitude. When you share your journey, it works better than any quote. And I fully agree with you. And you've also mentioned about celebrate small victories with your audience, be humble about it, respond to their comments, they will appreciate you and relate to you. And again, you're absolutely right. So even though Matt was saying earlier that I've been bragging about Youpreneur about 10 times all over the shop, I am so humbled. I never believed on this planet that I would actually, be making content for them live at their conference. So of course I was going to sing and dance about it. And so many people wrote comments of congratulations, and it was just an incredible feeling. So I do make a point of responding to all the comments that I do receive in my feed, because I think it's important, because people might read those comments, they don't know who I am, they want to get a sense of who it is I am. So I think you're absolutely right. And celebrating small victories is definitely important. Early in the summer, I actually had a quiet summer. It was busier than last year, but it was quiet. And I got rejection after rejection after rejection. I had 5 rejections in a row. And I was feeling sorry for myself. I was doubting myself. Oh my goodness, should I be doing this FOMO creating thing? Maybe I'm not good enough. And then, of course, as seeking help from my business mentor and talking to my dear friends. So Chrissy, you talked about Tim Lewis before. He's an incredible friend of mine. He put that into perspective for me, and I actually created that as content. So, Samuel, you were talking about, what kind of content you could put out there. I actually put that out there as a insight into the life of an entrepreneur. It's not all victories. It's not all, woohoos all the time. There are boohoos as well. And put the post out to say that I had the 5 rejections. And I got a lot of support. And I also got a lot of private messages as well saying, hey, Making, thank you so much for posting that. I really needed to hear that today. So, celebrating small victories, absolutely. But I will also talk about, when things don't go so well as well, because it helps people to get to know me as a person, because I'm far from perfect. My business is great, but it could be better. But I think it's important to really show the human side of you as well.
Yes. Well said. Do you guys hear that when I start talking?
No, it's just in your head, Christy.
Heather Nichols, she came on. She said, "What is TikTok? I can't do everything. I'd rather collaborate and partner with people in their specialties. Doesn't have to be mine." I agree. Gen Z, I think the oldest, what is Gen Z? I'm seeing them start to enter the workforce. And so I went to a conference last week and there was a speaker there that was Gen Z, and he was 21. And he's in the digital marketing space. And so I think, we need to keep an eye on them. We also need to keep an eye on Reddit. Reddit's been around for a while, but if you are trying to, reach Gen Z, you need to be on Reddit. I will tell you, they're a tough crowd. So good luck. Good luck on there.
I'll add to Reddit. It's not just Gen Z. The amount of context. So there's a lot of business, trading, finance, news. Reddit is a massive beast. You can get lost in it very easily, but if you know what you're doing, there's a large conversation happening all the time. It's a great way to showcase content, to brainstorm, to find ideas for content. There's a great way to find trending topics other than the Twitter. This is what's trending. Reddit is massive, and there's something for everyone.
Okay, so we got 4 minutes left. Matthew, what's your number one tip for creating and repurposing content?
You just threw that at me out of nowhere. What's my number one tip? My number one tip for creating and repurposing content is to firstly be ultimately imperfect. King talked about sharing the highs and the lows. One of my best pieces of content was when I had real cash flow problems. I had the most engagement. I got paid as well by one of my clients immediately after doing the Facebook Live, which was nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a true story. It did happen. It wasn't them that was late paying me, it was someone else. People talk about authenticity all the time, but so it's bandied around that word. But just being yourself is hard for a lot of people, and being yourself on social media is even harder for a lot of people. But when you finally find the way to be yourself on social media, the whole world opens up to you. And I can take the mick out of King, and she won't hold it against me, hopefully, because we've developed a relationship. Why? Because we know who we are, and we know there's no hiding behind something else. It's authenticity, true authenticity. The king of video thing you've mentioned at the start, I was worried about it, but it's became a thing because I've got true authenticity. People know that about me. So if you could be authentic, just be yourself. That's probably my number one thing. All the repurposing stuff, you can figure that out later on. Yeah. But just learn to be yourself. That's my biggest tip.
Yeah. King, what's your number one tip?
Yeah. Just do it. I think a lot of the time we get in our own heads and we procrastinate. We worry about what people think. We worry about being judged. We worry that we're putting out too much content. We're worried about not putting out enough content. Just think about your why. Think about why you are doing this, and think about who you are servicing. You are servicing your customers. You are providing value. That's why you're in business. You're in there to make a difference. And if you think about who you are servicing, then suddenly it takes the attention away from yourself, which hopefully means that it will be easier for you to produce content. And repurposing, it saves you time. So why wouldn't you do it? So create that one video, edit it, as Dan said, chop it into little bits, and put it all over the internet and break the internet, because you are providing value to your customers. You're providing your value to your customers. So that's it. Just do it.
Yes, press the damn button, like our friend Brian Fanzo says, right? Dan, right. I'll let you finish it up.
Great. Those other two tips were fantastic. Have fun. At the heart of it, guys, have fun with it. I can tell right away if somebody has been commissioned or dragged in front of a camera or forced to write an article. It comes across as dry and almost disdainful against the topic. And that's not what you want. When you watch King's video, King's videos have joy. She's got that smile on. She's enjoying the conference. Matt, I've got to be honest, I'm not on Facebook enough, but I'm sure your community loves when you hop on that live. Now. You've had a smile on the whole time. You clearly enjoy your community, and people will resonate with that. If you get on there and you're just you're enjoying what you're doing, great. That's there. You can have that. And you can still enjoy something. You can still enjoy a piece of content when you're having a hard time, when you're suffering. Because believe me, I put that out there, and the almost immediate response from the community online of, don't worry, you'll get through this. It's awesome. You're awesome. Life is good. Like, you can still enjoy putting that content out. So go out there, enjoy what you're doing. Don't do it just for the sake of doing it. Do it because you want to do it and love it and have fun with it.
Well, I had fun with you guys today, friends, my internet friends. And Leslie.
Here I come. Here I
There
come.
she
I'm
is.
here. That was absolutely incredible. You had so many comments. Everyone was loving all of that information. Daniel, 8 kids. Is that the truth? I don't even know what to say. May King, thank you for being here. Matthew, thank you for being here. We will try to get all the links up so everyone can follow you. I wish we could have 5 of us on the screen because I wanted a screenshot of all 5 of us together.
Aww.
But you all were absolutely incredible. So much valuable information. I love the piece on trending content. And, you know, the takeaway for me is that even though this is what we all do for a living, everybody has a small different take on it, right?
Yep.
We apologize for all of the inspirational memes, but sometimes it's what gets us through the day, people. Sometimes we need that and a glass of wine, right? But we appreciate having you. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, May King. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Matthew. All right, we have our next 2 guests. I'm going to welcome up Hani Mora of Repurpose.io and his guest today, Young Pratt. We are going to welcome them up into the studio right now. Welcome, welcome. We are so happy to have you both here.
Woohoo! We're excited to be here. Hi,
We're going to
everyone.
talk about repurposing your live streams for maximum exposure. So this is Hani Mora from Repurpose.io and Young Pratt, the creator of Podcast in a Weekend. I'm going to give you the floor. Hani, let me know when you want your screen share to come up and I will pull it up for you.
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. Hi, Young. Good to see you again. How are you?
I'm great, Hanny. I'm excited to be here and talk about this amazing topic that is repurposing.
That's it. That's what we do. That's what we live for. It's repurpose. We love, that's our favorite word. That's my favorite word. If I can add a second middle name to my name, I would call it, you know, Hanny Repurpose More. That's what we do.
Tattoo.
Yeah, I get a little nice tattoo across the top. So how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's enjoying all these great sessions, especially the last one. And well, it's the last 2 days, I should say. This is day 3. So hope everyone's enjoying. So today we're going to be talking about repurposing content. I mean, repurposing in simplest terms just means taking a content you've already created, taking your live stream you've already created, and putting it on other platforms where your audience hangs out, or your potential new audience can hang out and discover it without having to be on Facebook or, you know, watching your live streams on, or watching them live on whatever platform you're streaming on. So just a quick introduction for myself, and I'll let Young introduce herself. My name is Hani Mora. I'm the founder of the software called Repurpose.io. And I was introduced to BeLive very early, actually in the beginning. It's a funny story. Daniel reached out to me 3 years ago as I was creating Repurpose.io. And he didn't know who I was. I didn't know who he was. He said, I have this cool platform I'm building. I want you to check it out. You're doing stuff with live streaming. I want to check it out. So we did an interview together. And all of a sudden, he's like, I fell in love because they were the first. BeLive is the first platform to allow this kind of 2 people having a conversation together on Facebook Live. And I was blown away. And I went and I shared it in one of the Facebook groups that I was in. And Daniel's like, oh my gosh, that day you shared it, we got a huge spike in traffic. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. Like, I didn't even know this group. It wasn't my group. It was just, I found this amazing tool and I shared it out. And that's how we became friends. He loved it. I told him what I'm working on with Repurpose. We have a lot of synergy going. So that's kind of how I got involved with BeLive, I guess, from the beginning 3 years ago. So how about you, Young? Tell us a little more about yourself and what do you do with BeLive and, well, what do you do in general with content?
Sure, absolutely. I'm Young, and I'm the host of the podcast called In a Weekend. I'm also the creator of Podcast in a Weekend, where we take people from 0 to podcast in just 3 days. And it's all thanks to this man that I get to hang out with today, Mr. Hani Mora. when I discovered his software, he made my podcasting process super easy. And then when I incorporated live video, which I actually came to very reluctantly, it took me a long time to embrace this medium. But now that I'm here, it's one of my favorites. And for sure, BeLive is my go-to tool that I use for all of my live streams. And it's one that I love to introduce my students to, especially in regards to being able to connect with so many people in real time. It just makes our jobs as content creators so much easier.
Yes, it really does. It really does. And just going live in general, I'm a big fan of going live because even though it sounds counterintuitive, it is a lot easier. With tools like BeLive, of course, but also from the actual creation step. Going live means no editing. You just go live, you do your thing, you obviously prepare in advance, but you don't have to worry about take one or take two, or let me cut that out, let me say that again. It's live, your audience understands it's live, they see you live, and any mistakes you make, you just kind of flow right through it. You just kind of pick up where you left off and you keep going. And the beauty is, the second advantage is you have engagement. You have people joining, people watching, people commenting, and it keeps the conversation going. So I'm a big fan of going live as a way of creating content.
Yeah, and I would say being able to then take that live and to repurpose it is such an amazing thing to be able to do. And one of my favorite ways to repurpose live stream videos is to use Hanny's tool to strip out the audio portion of that video. So you automatically have this podcast that you can start creating, and you can start interacting on a different platform. And again, like Hanny said earlier, you're really being able to take your content and putting it in different places to interact and engage with people on the platforms they're already hanging out on.
That's the key. They're already hanging on. If you're doing live streams on Facebook, not everyone uses Facebook, right? So you're missing a whole set of audience. So by putting it on in audio format, so people can consume on the go, like I do when I go for my walks, it's always podcasts. That's what I do. I like listening to podcasts. A lot of them I listen to are recorded live, and I know they are. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, it's the content is there, the content's relevant. I'm listening to it at my convenience. So I'm a big fan of people who do, and I encourage people who do Facebook Lives to convert them to audio podcasts and get them out, because people will listen and they'll listen at their own time and in their own format. So I think we're kind of just jumping into it. So why don't we, Leslie, if you don't mind just showing up that screen, we can kind of walk through the screen share and just kind of cover from a high level what kind of things that we talk about in terms of repurposing, what different things you can do when you start with a video, especially a live stream video, and how to get it out to multiple platforms. So we're going to talk about the what first. So I'm going to go through this visual tool, visual diagram. Hopefully it's clear enough, and I'll try to zoom in as I go. So, I put this together because we got a lot of users who are saying, our platform does a lot of different things, and people kind of get overwhelmed. So I want to kind of summarize it in something visual. So I'm going to walk through this. I made this about a month or so ago, and it's been getting a lot of great feedback because it's visual, and people like arrows. Or just like follow the arrows. So why don't we start from the top? Follow the arrows and you get the results. So it's basically, the whole idea here is to start off with a piece of content that's video based, whether it's a live stream or it's an uploaded video. But everyone here is interested in live streaming, which is awesome. So this video piece is kind of the heart of it all. So you do a live stream and let's say you're streaming to Facebook. So what do you want to do with that content after your live stream's over? So while you're streaming, another advantage of streaming live is A, the engagement, but B, Facebook loves live streams. They give you more attention when you go live compared to uploading a video. So you get a lot of the initial attention, initial interaction. And then the disadvantage, I guess, in a sense, is when you're done Facebook, it's hard for people to find that video again. It might be in people's feeds for a day or so, and then it's kind of buried down, it's gone. So the idea of repurposing is you bring it back to life on different platforms, and in different formats. So the first thing I would recommend doing, if you're not doing it, highly recommend you do this right away, is to get that video onto as a blog post. That's the simplest thing you can do. Very little effort. We have a tool that automates it, but even if you don't use that tool, or even if you're not using WordPress, number one thing is you want to have this content consumable on your own site, on your own home base, if you want to call it. So you want to get this content onto your blog or your website. It doesn't have to be WordPress. I'm just showing WordPress because we have a tool that does it for you automatically. But the idea being is when you send people, again, not everyone hangs out on Facebook. So if you do a video on Facebook, a live stream on Facebook, you can send an email to your newsletter and say, hey, we have our latest video is here. You send them a link to your website. So there's a couple of advantages. One, when they're on your website, you have an opportunity to engage further and have them take the next step, whether it's click a button to sign up for a newsletter or opt into your email, or just consume more content on your blog, video-based or text-based. So having them go to your site's got big advantages, and it's something that you own, you control, and it gives you opportunities to collect that email address, which you can't do on other platforms, right? It's not yours. You can't ask people for an email opt-in on Facebook. So you want to ask them on your site. So that's, for me, number one. Yang, what do you think? What are your thoughts on publishing it to your website? Any other tips that you recommend? You've been doing this. You've been teaching this as well.
It's one of my favorite things to be able to do as well, because I think even in the last session, we were talking about being able to put these things on your website and, having your home base where people can come and find everything that you do, I think is a really key tool. And with your WordPress plugin, the fact that you can automate this is huge, because I used to do this manually and have a virtual assistant that would actually, go to Facebook, download my videos, upload them to a place like YouTube, grab the embed code, and it was all very manual. So if you happen to use WordPress, this is one of my favorite tools that I love to share, because not only does it embed the video from Facebook, it also brings over the comments, which I think is a really key feature to really getting people to engage with you more. And the next coolest thing about it is that when they're commenting, it's taking them back to your Facebook page. So you have this great circle going on. It starts with Facebook, goes to your website, back to Facebook. So people really kind of understand what the flow is. They know they can find you in these places. And, this is a tool that I've been using for a long time, and I cannot imagine life without this automation, because even though I may go back and put in things like show notes or put in a full blog post there, the fact that I'm actively pushing content to my blog regularly is a huge, huge win.
Yes, absolutely. And, people always wonder, like, when am I going to have time to make a video? When do I have time to go live and then make a blog post? And the whole idea of repurposing is you don't have to create fresh content every time. You're creating the content. You are going live. That is your content. That is your starting point. That's an excellent starting point. And there's no reason why you can't simply take that live and, using a tool or doing it manually, going to Facebook. They give you the embed code. You copy and paste it. You have a blog post.
Yeah.
That's it. You're blogging. So you're blogging and streaming. 2 for 1 right now. So far, you make one piece of content and you got a live stream on Facebook, which Facebook loves and gets you a lot of attention, and you got a blog post. So next thing, Yang, you mentioned this, and you're a big fan of this. I know a lot of people hesitate to do this because they worry about audio quality, or they worry about things not working so well, or hiccups. Sometimes when you live stream, internet connection gets poor and things cut out. But people worry, oh no, I can't make that into a podcast episode. Why? My first answer is, why not?
Yeah.
So why would you not take a live stream and then take either the whole thing or take a chunk out of it and turn it into audio? I see no reason, unless you're like, even if you're the most pickiest audio person who loves audio and must have crystal clear sound. To be honest, it's not about you. It's about your audience. You're almost like you're depriving your audience from consuming great content in the way they want it, just because you think maybe the audio quality is not the greatest, or maybe, whatever, your internet's not fast enough, or there's no reason not to do it, I guess. So
Right.
so number one we talked about is going to your website. Number two, turning it into an audio. So for those who are doing it, congrats, because you're one of the few who are smart enough and efficient enough to think like this, to think the content is great and it's relevant in video format, but it's also great and relevant in audio format. And of course, if you're doing demos, videos, like visual stuff, that episode may not, or that live stream may not apply. And so you don't have to use that as an episode. But
Right.
If you plan ahead, you can really, if you think ahead, you can say, you know what, I'm keeping my audio, my audio peeps in mind and my video peeps in mind. So when I create content, I'm going to make it relevant for both.
And I want to give BeLive really big props here too, because I used different live streaming platforms and tried to pull out the audio, and the audio quality has never been as good as when I stream on BeLive. So definitely for all of you out there who are live streaming and you've thought about having a podcast, the audio that I'm getting to put on my podcast really is top notch. And there probably are people out there who are audio people who are thinking, no.
Mm-hmm.
But like Andy said, it's more about the content and the value you're providing. And the fact that you appear to be human because maybe you stumble over some words when your video is live. I adore those things when they happen, because it really lets me connect to my audience, and they connect to me because they view me as a real person, not just some canned speaker who is just, reading a script. So that's one really great thing I'll say about the audio quality here at BeLive. I do want to back up for just a moment. Kelly asked a question. She said she would like a tool to post video on her blog automatically. So Kelly, earlier Hanny was talking about his WordPress plugin, Simple Social Press, which takes all of your videos from Facebook, whether they're live using BeLive or any other tool, or even uploaded, and it'll pop it over onto your blog. So you can do many more things with it once it's there on your home base.
That was actually people enjoy that automation, and we built at Repurpose. We have also a WordPress plugin, like Yang said. But if you're not on WordPress, you can go to Facebook and copy the embed code and do it manually. So I'm not just trying to say it is a little bit more work, but I think it's worth it having it on your site. Automated obviously is better in my opinion, but if you're not on WordPress, don't be discouraged. You can still do this. You can still go into Facebook with a couple clicks, copy the embed code, etc. Mm-hmm. So, don't shy away. Don't say, "Oh, I'm not on WordPress, so I'm not going to bother doing it." I still think it's worth doing and getting it on your blog. That way, when you email to your newsletter, or you want to send someone a link, hey, I want you to go watch this video. Well, there's no better place than your website. Right? No better place than your website to send people to when you want them to consume content, because they'll stick around, they'll watch or read other content. Otherwise, when they're on Facebook or YouTube, mm-hmm. they're gonna get distracted. They're gonna be related videos, or oh, my mom is messaging me. Oh, then you're gone. You lost them, right? You lost them. So keep them on your home base. It's a great place to send people to mm-hmm. watch a video afterwards. Obviously, while you're streaming, you want them to come on Facebook, engage live with you. But after the fact, send them to your site.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're talking about, so that was one, that was blogs. Two is audio. Now, one small tip here, just is, again, me being a little picky, but an optional step, but I recommend doing it, is adding some kind of intro to your live stream. So some people like to do an intro while they're going live, but some people just go live and they produce their content. So when you're converting into audio, traditional podcasts have some kind of intro, whether it's a 1 minute, welcome to the Handy Moore Show, blah, 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 like a generic intro. If you have that, or you're thinking of starting a podcast, get an intro done, whether it's yourself or you can hire somebody. And when you take the audio from your live stream, add this intro in the beginning. And what it does is it makes it feel like like a true audio episode. So like one is consistency. Like when someone listens to your audio, every episode they're hearing the same thing, same intro. Whether you're telling them to leave a review, whether you're telling them to subscribe to your podcast, you can include all those kind of generic calls to action in the beginning. But second, it just makes it feel more like an audio episode instead of just kind of abruptly starting into audio. Having an intro and even an outro, right? Add those to your podcast audio version. It makes it feel more like without doing a lot of work, it makes it feel like a produced show, and also gives consistency when people listen to multiple episodes in a row, which people do. Right? When they're on their phones, it kind of goes from one episode to the next. So having that consistency gives it it just reminds people what your show is about, and give it a more polished look. Polished sound, I should say.
Right, and if you use a tool like Hanny's repurpose.io, that tool you can actually upload your intro and outro. So as soon as you go live, it'll actually bake that intro and outro onto your episode. So you have a full podcast with music if you want at the beginning and the end. And I believe I just saw that's also an option to do now with BeLive. I may be mistaken, but I thought I read that just recently that you can now upload an intro video to start your video. So hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn, because I think I saw that inside of my dashboard the other day. So lots of options to really give your guests either a great live video experience, a replay video experience, and now really with the podcast as well. You can, again, start with that one piece of content, and if you're starting with video, that's a great place, like Hanny said, to do all of the rest of these things. And Hanny, can you talk about what else Repurpose can do? Because it's not just about getting your videos into audio. There's lots more features. Can you dive into some of those?
Absolutely, yeah. So we covered blog, we covered audio, and then now the fun part, getting it on other social platforms. So again, everything I'm showing here I'm trying to make this kind of fit in one screen. Everything I'm showing here applies to whether you're doing a live stream, a Facebook Live, or if you have a video, or both, like an uploaded video, something you've created yourself and you upload it on Facebook. So whatever we're talking about today in general applies to live streams, also applies to uploaded videos on Facebook. So the next thing you want to do is you want to get it onto, I hinted earlier, Facebook is not the greatest search engine. It's great when you go live, but after the fact, it's hard to find content. People are searching for a topic, they may not find you. So I guess number 3 suggestion, probably a number 2 after the blog, I would go to YouTube. So if you're not putting your content on YouTube, your live streams on YouTube, whether it's the entire episode, or maybe you chop it up into small clips, you're missing out on a big opportunity to get discovered, to get found. And so I highly, highly recommend just taking that live stream. With our software, it can do it automatically, or if you want to do it manually, it's all good. Just get that video on to YouTube. So my suggestion is just to leave it as it is. It's typically you're doing a horizontal video. If you're live streaming, just leave it. Don't convert it. Don't flip it. Don't turn it into horizontal. I'll talk about that in a few seconds. But for YouTube, just keep it as its original format and send it up to YouTube. And one thing I would do is, it's kind of a side note. If you are going live on a page, you should take advantage of Facebook's caption feature. So after you're done going live, you can go back to your Facebook page, edit the video, and turn on the automatic captions. And they will generate the captions for you for free right into the video, and then they give you a chance to edit them. And the reason why I say that is, A, it just helps people watch your videos on Facebook. When they're watching the replay, they can watch it and they can see the captions. But B, we have a lot of features built into Repurpose that will take those captions and make pretty awesome videos and to help you out as well. So if you take the time to turn on auto transcription on Facebook, it's free. And then afterwards go in, it takes a few minutes, depending how long your video is, it can take 3-4 minutes. And then you go in and you clean up. And it's free, right? It doesn't get better than that, right? It's free. You go in, you edit, you clean up the mistakes, and then you can use repurpose or even, use those. Well, okay, I'm trying to jump. I'm jumping ahead too fast. What I'm trying to say is just turn them on Facebook. You'll get people watching videos without sound on. You're going to help a lot more people. The secondary benefit is going to come when if you decide to use repurpose, it helps you make some pretty cool videos that are more engaging. So before I jump into that, YouTube, keep it as it is. If you have groups, you run your own groups, share these videos in the group, whether you share them when you go live or you share the replay after. I highly recommend you do that as well. Don't neglect groups. So what I tend to do is I go live on my page and then I share them on all my relevant groups instead of going live in the group. And then, especially if it's a private group, you can't share that out to other places. So that's another tip. If you're sharing to Facebook, go live on a public page and share to all the groups that will see value in it. And that's what I do. Anything to add, Yang, to YouTube and Facebook?
Yeah, so I have just a couple of questions that came through too. People want to know if there's a place to get this graphic because it is coming across pretty small. Where can they go to get a copy of that?
Yeah, they can go. I was kind of worried about that. I was hoping to trying to zoom in as much as I can, but they can go to repurpose.io/workflow, and there's a copy that you can download.
Perfect.
No opt-in or anything. You just download the PDF. It's all there.
Fantastic. Well, and I would say also with YouTube, I mean, that automation is great for a lot of people, especially if you're a solopreneur out there and, your time is really stretched thin, yet you want to be on these platforms again. So you're there when people are searching for you. So being able to take that same live stream, we're still talking about the same video, the same live stream, you can now send it to your WordPress website automatically. You can convert it to audio to create your own podcast. And now you can send it over to YouTube where people are using that tool. It is a search engine. So if you're baking in the right keywords that you want to be found for, then really you have a chance for people to start to discover you on YouTube, even if that's not your primary platform, because this idea about repurposing is not just so you can be everywhere and have that superpower ability that people see on the outside. It's really about just putting your message and putting your video on platforms where people are already hanging out. They like to be there. It's their platform of choice. We all have our favorites. So why not, if it's not any more work, just put your same video there, because people are going to find you. They're going to find value in what you're doing. And when they find you on one platform, they may start to follow you on other platforms as well, which is best case scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said it best, you want to be where they hang out. You don't want to force them, hey, I want you to come to my Facebook and follow my stuff there. You want to be where they hang out, not force them to come where you post content. So that's exactly it. So we talked about blog, audio, YouTube. Those are, blog, YouTube to me are no-brainers. You need to be doing blog and YouTube. Audio, I highly, highly recommend it. Podcasting, there's an extra step in there. It's not that complicated. Just Google how to podcast. There's a ton of different sites that will teach you the process. But from a simplistic point of view, you sign up for a podcast host. It's a service where you upload your audios to. They give you what's called a podcast feed. It's just a link, and you click a button and you submit that to the podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. So it's a one-time step, and then that's it. Every time you upload your next episode, Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, they get notified automatically. So you don't have to worry about, oh no, I'm adding a whole bunch of work to now that I have an audio podcast. It's not a lot of work. You set it up once, and then all you do is upload audio to your next episode, and then all these directories get notified. And when the directories get updated, all your subscribers get notified on their phone automatically, and that's the key. So they take care of notifying your audience about a new episode. And just like live streaming, if you want to be consistent. So if you consistently live stream on a certain day of the week or a certain number of episodes per week, your audio listeners will get trained as well to follow along, and they'll get hooked. Trust me, I get hooked. Like, I follow podcasts, and then there's one every Tuesday morning, and then Tuesday morning rolls along and there's no episode. I'm out tweeting, "Hey guys, what's going on? I need episodes." I think honestly, like, a podcasting audio content is very addictive. I listen to it on my walks in the morning. So don't underestimate audio content. Okay, we covered the main stuff, or not the main stuff. We covered the blog, YouTube, audio. Now, other social platforms like the Instagrams and the Instagram TVs and the Twitters and the LinkedIn. How do you get content on there? So each one's slightly different. And the annoying thing is the different sizes, the video size requirement that they have. For example, Instagram TV, even though I think they accept multiple formats now, they still prefer the vertical format. So usually when you go live from your desktop, you're going horizontal. How do you get it into vertical? That's an annoying step. And then Twitter and LinkedIn, probably from my experience, from what I'm seeing, square tends to look better and fit better on mobile and on desktop. So, what do? We want to obviously be on those platforms, especially LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn's very underrated right now. And they're pushing video hard. Now they're pushing live streaming as well. So it's an excellent opportunity to put video on LinkedIn, because not many people are doing it. So how do we do that? Well, you want to take your live stream and take out, if your live streams are short, that's all good. You can post, I think, up to 10 minutes on LinkedIn, up to 10 minutes on IGTV. So, if you're doing 10-minute live streams, it saves you a little bit of work. But honestly, like, most people who go live stream, they're doing some kind of show, some kind of interview. So it does take longer than 10 minutes. So the suggestion here is, no one's going to sit through a very long episode on these social platforms. So you want to give them the best of the best. Like, you want to go in and trim out 1-2 minute clips of your live stream, probably multiple clips from within the show, and post those clips on social, like IGTV, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. So the strategy is a little bit different. For YouTube, you want to, you can try clips, but I see no harm in putting the full episode. Right? People sit longer on YouTube. People are searching actively on YouTube versus IGTV, LinkedIn, Twitter. People are scrolling, right? They're just scrolling. No one's going to be scrolling and then sit through, I don't know, even 10 minutes seems like a lot on these platforms. Their attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. So you want to get something that's engaging. The best of, like, pull out a 1 to 2 minute clip. And I'm hearing lately now from a few people who are experimenting with this that 1 minute seems to be like a magic number. Like, people see, 1 minute. All right, I'll stick around for a minute if this is good. All right, so what we want to do is you want to get content to, let's talk about IGTV, for example. IGTV, people are like, oh no, another platform I got to deal with. Oh my God, I don't want to do this. It's got a lot of benefits, but also there's some great tools out there that help you do some stuff. So with Repurpose, we decided, we can take your live stream from Facebook. And we have a little video trimmer, so you can trim out a 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, whatever you want clip. And then you can tell it, hey, make me a vertical video. And the vertical video will have a title. We'll have the captions burnt in. So I mentioned earlier about turning on the automatic captions on Facebook. We'll grab those, we'll burn them right in. We'll add a nice progress bar. And the reason for, especially the progress bar, or the reason for all three components, title, progress bar, and captions, is engagement. If someone scrolling through the feed, they see your face, they may not recognize you or know you, they're just going to keep scrolling. But if they see a title that's engaging, they see a progress bar that's moving and captions that are moving, they can watch it on mute, which most people cannot watch the video right away, or like they're maybe at work or something and they can't have the audio on. So having captions burnt in will let them watch the episode longer, but also having a title burnt into the video lets people see what this video is about. Like, nice big letters will capture their attention. So that's why we added this feature in Repurpose. We'll let you take a live stream, either the whole thing or clips, most likely clips, and just say, hey, I want it in vertical format, and it does it for you automatically. And that's one tool. But the thing is, there's a tool called Facebook Creator. Creator Studio. Is that what it's called, Young? Creator Studio?
Yeah, Creator Studio, yes.
Yeah, so facebook.com/Creator Studio. It's a free tool. It's Facebook's tool, but they now allow you to schedule IGTV and Instagram videos, which is powerful. So the flow would go like this. You take a video, you turn it into vertical, and you make 3, 4, 5 clips, and then you can go to facebook.com/Creator Studio and schedule these videos to go out, one tomorrow, 1 2 days later, 1 2 days later. So you don't no longer have to be on your phone or on your desktop uploading the videos a certain time. You can have, one episode that you've done at the beginning of the week and have 3 or 4 posts on IGTV and Instagram, native videos uploaded to them and scheduled in advance. So you don't have to do it yourself on the day of, which this is maybe 2 months, 1 or 2 months old feature. So it's still, brand new feature from Facebook. It's such a time saver, a time saver, because in the past, you got to do it all manually on the day of.
Absolutely. And there's a question about how to get more and more engaging content, asking for some suggestions. Hanny, do you want to tackle that, and then I'll chime in too?
Yeah, for sure. To me, when I think of content, I think of short, 1 to 2 minutes, 3 minutes max, but also addressing one problem or answering one question. With people like me, especially, I like to talk a lot, right? So if I'm like rambling on for like 10 minutes, people are gonna get lost. Which I'm hoping people are not lost now, because I'm talking a little bit too fast. But when you make a video, pick a topic, one question, answer the question. That's the whole minute. That's all it is. It's just answering the question. And I would even say answer the question right away. Don't leave them hanging till the end. They're going to say, how do I create a video? Well, step 1, pick a topic. Step 2, almost like give them the solution up front, and then spend 30 seconds or a minute after going into the more details. So people want the answer. People are looking, they want an answer. So those are my tips. And then if you have an audience already, an email list, followers, any number of followers on any platform, whether they're subscribers for your podcast or YouTube channel, whatever, just see what they're or on your blog. See what's popular. See what the questions are in the comments. If you're doing videos and live streams on Facebook, see which live streams caught people's attention. Dig through the comments. Those are such golden nuggets. People's feedback is very precious, especially when they give it to you on their own, via comment or they tweet or whatever. Wherever you hang out, wherever they engage with you. Just kind of keep your eyes and ears open and answer those questions. I know it sounds like, almost like a generic answer, but it's really about giving people who follow you what they want.
Right. Well, and the beautiful thing about repurposing is that it's, no matter how you slice and dice it at the end of the day, it is still you, it is still your company, it is still your message, it is still your mission, and you serving your audience. So instead of back in the day where you might hire somebody to write content for you or to make videos, with all the tools like BeLive that we have today, there's no need to do that, because if you can go live even just once a week and create even a 10-minute video, and you're able to chop it up into 10 1-minute videos and then schedule those out over time when it's appropriate and when you want to continue the conversation, that's just a really great way for people to start to engage with you from afar at first by watching those shorter clips. And as they get to know, like, and trust you, then you can start directing them to your longer form videos and into your program products or services down the road. So by really just being consistent with your content, chopping it up by repurposing your words or your guests' words and sharing it out at different times, that's going to go a long way in helping to have people engage with you more over time.
Yes. And some people fear that, I'm posting too many clips and people are going to get annoyed that I'm posting all these short clips. But the reality is, the people who see your content will see it when they engage, if they engage with it. So what I mean by that is, if someone's already scrolling through your content and they're not stopping to watch, these Facebooks, the Instagrams, the LinkedIns, they won't give them more content because they're not watching your original content. So people who watch your content want more content, or at least you've captivated them and they'll see more of your stuff. So you're not gonna. The people who don't want to watch it will not enter their feeds as often because they're not stopping to watch the first one. So you're never gonna worry about annoying people with too much content. I've heard people say, "Oh no, what if I annoy my people?" They saw it on Facebook and then now they're seeing it on LinkedIn,
Right.
Because they're not hanging on those platforms all at the same time, and B, like you're just almost reinforcing the fact that, hey, man, I've seen this person everywhere. Like, oh, you know what? Like, if I hang out on Instagram more, I'm gonna follow them because that's where I'll engage and see more of their content. So don't worry about annoying people. That's kind of another small tip.
Right. And again, that's the beauty of repurposing, right? Is that you're taking your content, you're sprinkling it on these different platforms, and then it looks kind of like you have this magic kit in your back pocket, when really it's this tool to repurpose your content, and you get to appear like you have these superhero abilities because you are everywhere, and then people start to ask you and you get to share more because they're engaged. And so even this idea of putting a title at the top of your IGTV video and the captions, the title is kind of like an email headline, right? You want to be engaging and you want to pique someone's curiosity or make them stop their scroll and say, what is that? I have to watch that. And then by using the transcription tool that Facebook now provides and letting Repurpose bake those transcriptions into your video, people can still engage with you and watch with their sound off, because I know lots of people who watch videos during the day when they're in the office or when their kids go to bed or whatever it is. So those are two more great tips that, if you want people to engage with you more, it's okay to experiment and try different things out and see what sticks and resonates with your audience the most.
Yeah. And if you're comfortable going live, I would say go live. Like make that your starting point for content creation. If you're not comfortable going live, and again, if you go live and you don't get a lot of people, or maybe you get one person popping in and popping out, don't worry about it. That's the beauty with repurposing. You're not necessarily looking, like, you're not done when you're, like, it doesn't end when you finish going live. It starts when you finish going live. It's the beginning. So don't feel like, oh, no one's watching my live stream, I'm demotivated, I don't want to create more content. Think of it as, all right, I'm making this piece of content because I know if nobody watches it live, they might catch it on YouTube, they might catch it on another Facebook group, they might catch it on Instagram, they might catch it on Twitter, on LinkedIn. So if you keep that in mind, that this content is going to live a lot longer, it's just, A, it's more motivating, and B, it doesn't matter how many people show up live.
Right. Yeah, definitely not a one and done. It's you do one thing, and then from that one thing, you can create all these little pieces that can live on well past that one live video.
Yes. I tell people it's the beginning, not the end.
Yeah.
This is
for sure
your content, not the end of your content. So the last two platforms I want to make sure that you're, not the last two, but two more I want to make sure you cover are Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter's got a very short, I think it's like 2 minutes is their max, which is not bad. We talked earlier, like 1 to 2 minutes is a good number. LinkedIn, you can go up to 10 minutes of video. So take advantage of those and experiment, try 1 minute clips, try 10-minute clips, see which one's going to get more views, more engagement, more comments. And you can take your regular video and just put it on LinkedIn. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the ability and you have the tools, like Repurpose does this for you, it can make a square video with a title and it can burn in the captions. But again, some people get intimidated. Oh, I don't have time to do the captions, to clean them up. You don't need to necessarily turn on captions. You can just put static text, some kind of call to action, like, leave us a comment with your thoughts, or some kind of call to action, or visit us at blah.com. So just making these videos with titles and either a call to action or a caption below, it just it's just when people are scrolling, they're going to stop. And you're like, oh, this is different, A. And B, oh, this title is interesting. I'm going to stick around and watch. And then the progress bar, the whole idea, again, is just so that people know that this is a short video. It's like, okay, I can stick around. This progress bar is almost done, you know? Like, it's just these little subtle cues that let people stick around and watch just a little bit more. So definitely get your content on Twitter. Definitely get your content on LinkedIn. And if you're keeping your content or your clips under a minute, you can post them directly to Instagram. So people always ask me, like, do I do Instagram TV? Do I do Instagram, or do I do both? My suggestion, again, I'm not an expert in Instagram, but this is my suggestion. You want to go, if you're doing over a minute, you have no choice. If you're doing over a minute, you need to go to Instagram TV. But when you upload a video to Instagram TV, there's a little checkbox that says, can share the first minute to my Instagram feed. So that automatically gets you 2 for 1. So you get the content on Instagram TV, but it also shares it in your Instagram feed for the first 60 seconds. And if someone is done the 60 seconds, it'll pop up and say, watch the rest on IGTV. They click that and they continue watching where they left off. So if you're doing over a minute, you have to do Instagram TV. Even if you're doing a minute, I would still say go IGTV and then turn on that option on Instagram to share it to your main Instagram feed. That's my advice. You can always experiment and see what works for you. Maybe you get more engagement on your main feed. It's really hard to say, but to me, getting a 2 for 1 is the way I do it.
Well, I think at this point we're like, we're getting 12 things from the one thing, so we're still ahead.
We're still ahead. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So that's, those are just to kind of recap. So video content becomes a blog post, becomes an audio podcast, full video onto YouTube, and then a bunch of clips in, in optimized formats, vertical, horizontal, etc., onto the other social platform, Instagram TV, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then within our platform, we have the option to send the video to a Dropbox or Google Drive in case you want to upload it somewhere else. Like, for example, I hear like Pinterest does videos. So if you want to post to Pinterest, or now people are talking about TikTok as a big platform. So if you have it on Dropbox, you can grab it and then upload it to TikTok, etc. So you have the ability to kind of make these little clips and send them to your own folder on Dropbox, and then do whatever you want with them afterwards.
Well, I think for anyone doing live video, we definitely want to make sure we have a backup copy that's not stored only on Facebook. Whether we're sending it to Dropbox, we're downloading, uploading, doing it manually or automatically, it definitely needs to be part of your workflow during each day or during each week, just in case something should ever happen to your social platforms and all of your content gets lost. We definitely do not want that. You're all putting in a lot of time and effort to do your live videos, so just make sure you always have a backup copy stored somewhere else.
That's a great point. I mean, that wasn't the main intention of the software, but that's a great use case as well, is you have a copy on your somewhere where you own, in case, I don't know, Facebook bans you for something that you didn't even know you did. All of a sudden your account's banned and then all your videos you don't have access to them anymore. So definitely that's a great tip in general. Just get your content somewhere on your hard drive, on a Dropbox folder, Google Drive, anywhere that you own in case something ever happens to your account. Awesome. I'm going to end the screen. Well, I can't end the screen share, but I'm going to minimize the screen. And I think we're close to wrapping up. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can talk about any specific topics.
There's a question about TikTok. Do you want to take that one, Hanny? What is TikTok?
What is TikTok? I'm still trying to figure it out. It's this platform where you post short videos, and the more funky, cool effects you add to it, the more views it gets. I don't know anything about TikTok, to be honest.
We're gonna have to ask our kids, right?
Yeah, my kids are still young. They don't have their own devices yet. So, but they will.
Mine's 9, and he wouldn't know a TikTok from anything. But yeah. Well, that was incredible, honey. a lot of people are asking about that infographic again. They can just get that when they go to repurpose.io
/workflow. They can
/workflow.
Yeah,
Okay,
they can
I'll get
download.
that
There's no
put up
option,
in
nothing.
there.
Yeah, just a
Oh,
PDF.
okay. Kelly knows all about TikTok. He says
All
it's a social media video app for creating and sharing short lip sync, comedy, and talent videos. Okay. And Sheila has a really great question. What 3 action steps should they take to get started? And Sheila, I assume you mean in repurposing. Like, what would be your top 3 if you were going to repurpose one piece of content? What would be the 3 places you would send it?
I would send it blog, YouTube. Those 2 for sure. Those are, it's very simple. Get it done quickly. Blog, YouTube. Number 3, I would say podcasting would be the last thing on your list. So definitely get it on social. I hate to say where you hang out, but you should be everywhere. But pick one where you're at least have the most followers, and then start posting there. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram. So post it on one social, short clips, and then YouTube, full episodes, and then on your blog. Those would be my 3.
Your top 3. That's fantastic. And Young, can you tell us just a little bit more about your program, your podcast in a weekend, how you train and allow people to build their own podcast in, what did you say, 3 days?
3 days. And my star student actually created and launched her podcast in just 4 hours. So for all those of you listening, if you've stopped or you haven't podcasted because you think it takes a lot of time to put it together, I'm definitely here to say you can absolutely do it. And of course, I use Hanny's tools to be able to do this. So we, in a weekend's time, we start on a Friday and we finish on a Sunday, and we come together as a group. We go through all the steps on where to put your podcast, how to create it. And my recommendation always is to start with live video, pull out the audio, because you're already doing the work once. You don't need to do it more than that. So it's all about simplicity, automation, and building a sustainable system.
Wonderful. And how can the viewers that are watching LiveCon 2019 today, how can they find out about your program? Is it currently running, or are you on a wait list right now?
I do have a wait list. Yep. They can actually come over to my Facebook page, and I'm actually going to make a little announcement about that today. So you can find me at Podcasting Ninja on Facebook, and I'll be going live in just a little bit to talk about the doors being open to podcast in a weekend. We are doing the next session at the end of this month, so people can get their podcast launched in 2019.
Awesome. Great. And it looks like we might have one more question from Rosalindo. Repurpose.io allows you to edit the video before it actually posts on another social media?
To a certain degree. You can trim the video, like trim beginning end, or basically make a clip of the video. You can't cut, it's not a full-blown video editor. You can trim, make a clip, or trim the beginning and end. And also you can add an intro, outro to it as well after the fact. So those are the editing that you can
readjust the formatting, correct?
Correct. Yeah. You can tell if I start with this, I want it to go like this, or I want it to go square. Yeah, you can tell it how it looks like at the end, square, vertical, or leave it as is.
That's awesome. And we all saw on your infographic that they could try it for free. There's a free trial.
Free trial. You can do 4 videos for free with no watermarks. Just, full experience. Try it out.
That is absolutely incredible. Thank you. Thank you. Someone wants your t-shirt. But this is a family show. Keep your shirt on, honey. Well, I appreciate both of you being here today. I know BeLive thanks you so much for being part of LiveCon 2019. Honey, any place that we can reach you? I know we got Young at Podcasting Ninja. And Honey, where can we find you?
You can go to hannymora.com.
Great.
It's got a list of what I'm up to, podcast episodes I'm on, just more about me, social, all the usual stuff. Yeah, so hannymora.com.
Wonderful. Thank you both for joining. Young, I do have to shout out your lipstick. Looks phenomenal on camera. I am a huge fan. I love your background. You look absolutely stunning. So thank you both for joining us today. And everyone say goodbye to Young and Hanny.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Awesome. That was so cool. I'm going to pull up, I don't know if he's already logged off, but yeah, I was going to pull up that infographic, but you guys can go and find that at, let's make sure we get the exact address, repurpose.io/workflow. So maybe somebody at BeLive can pop that up for me right now. And our next guest has just checked in. Impeccable timing from my dear friend, Joey. Joey is going to be joining us. Joey Vitale. I texted him last night. I said, how do I say your name? And then as soon as I asked him that, I knew I would say it wrong. So he is going to be joining us in studio now. He's absolutely incredible. This is a guy that I have gotten to know a little bit over the last couple of months. Joey from Indie Law. He is going to be talking to us about trademarks, the good, the bad, and the amazing. Joey, where's your hat?
You know what? I forgot it. I have to get a haircut later today. And I was like, you know what? You know how when you go to get a haircut and you don't want it to look like totally bad? Like you feel like you have to kind of show them.
You need you need a couple days to get it exactly. Here's what happens to me is I hate my hair and then I make an appointment to get a haircut and the day I go, my hair looks genius. And I'm like, why am I getting a haircut? Anyway, but I'm glad you're here. We're super, super excited. I'm going to exit the studio. I'm going to give the stage over to you. And we all are looking forward to hearing your talk about trademarks.
Awesome. Awesome. So you guys, I am so excited to be here. Trademarks are kind of my jam. We're going to get into why my law firm focuses on trademarks in a bit. But first, I wanted to explain to you guys that I do have a very special guest that I'm going to be bringing on to help me. Because as you guys know, trademarks aren't super fun to talk about. And you might even be like, oh my gosh, now a lawyer's talking. Like we had so many great experts. We had so many amazing people, bring in their amazing advice for you on BeLive. And now we have this boring lawyer talking about this boring topic. And you guys, this is not boring, but I do understand that sometimes just because of what I do, I talk about things at a level that someone has to bring me down to. So I wanted to bring somebody on that would really make sure that I'm talking about this in a way that is kind of meeting you where you're at. And I was like, okay, what better person could I bring than somebody who I have brought in myself, who is a part of my team, who has gone from not knowing anything about trademarks to being my right-hand person who's helping my clients with all of their trademark questions and doing a lot of the work as well. And that person is Caitlin Allen. Are we able to bring her in? There she is. Hi, Caitlin.
Hey. It says that I'm joining right now. Hi.
So I've got some people saying that I make it fun and I'm never boring. You guys, I try. But I know this stuff can be kind of complicated. And so, Caitlin, I'm so excited that you're here.
Oh, thanks.
And Caitlin and I are going to go over the 4 biggest mistakes that we see business owners making when it comes to trademarks specifically. Now, you might be like, Joey, what in the heck is a trademark? So a trademark is really just anything that when you see it, you think of one brand in particular. So for a lot of you, it's your business name. It might be a slogan or a logo or a catchphrase, or maybe your podcast title, or if you're using BeLive like I do and you have a signature weekly talk or a signature series that you do, almost like a podcast, but on live streaming, that can also be a trademark. And Caitlin and I are always seeing business owners make mistakes here. And if you're not careful, this stuff can really come back to bite you. So the first mistake that we see people make all the time is they're missing what's in front of you. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people come to us saying, Joey, I need a trademark. Caitlin, how often do you hear people in Facebook groups being like, do I need to get my name trademarked?
Yeah, they don't fully understand what that means, or they're like, I think I need a trademark and an LLC. I'm not 100% sure though.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of like misunderstanding about all of this. And okay, we're seeing some people say, I need to trademark my program name. Oh yeah, Madeline, we need to talk because you're like rocking it and you definitely need to protect that. And so, but that's exactly what we're talking about. I need to trademark my program name. So as Caitlin and I found out pretty quickly, people are really misunderstanding exactly how this happens. And we talk about, I need to trademark my name in kind of common law and common like business language. But when we talk about it that way, we're not really helping ourselves understand what happens. So I don't think Caitlin even knows this, but I was a kid, I was super into magic.
Yeah.
And so what if you guys, like, what if I could do this magic trick and just like give all of you guys trademarks? Like Oprah style, like you get a trademark and you get a trademark and you get a trademark. The reality is that I can pull off that trick. And something that Caitlin and I do a lot is we educate our clients on letting them understand that even before you trademark anything, you automatically have trademark rights. So that's mistake number one, is that you're missing what's in front of you. You're missing that according to the way that laws are set up here in the US, just by using a business name or a logo or a slogan or the name of your program, you automatically have trademark rights. The problem is that those automatic rights that you have just by using it are super weak. And so really the reason why we come in when people say, I want to trademark my whatever, what people are really talking about is I need some way to protect the trademarks that I have in place. And that means that you need a registration.
And that's where we come in.
That's where we come in. So mistake number two is that you don't have a registration. So I like to talk about it in terms of a house versus a fence. So when it comes to trademarks, like we said, just by being in business, just by using those different brand elements, you have the house, you have the trademark, but you don't have a fence. You don't have a registration. And if you guys have seen that circle R symbol, that's what we're talking about here. So Caitlin, can you talk a little bit about kind of the benefits of a trademark registration and why it's helpful to get the registration versus just having those automatic rights versus not having anything?
Well, first off, it's a really cool piece of paper.
Isn't it cool?
You get a registration with Indie Law. You even get a lapel. Is that how you say it? Lapel?
A lapel pin. Yeah.
A lapel pin. So that's why you should work with Indie Law. No. But the main reason to have a registration is so that you have proof of first use, especially when somebody comes to you and says, hey guys, hey, I'm using this name, you're using this name, you need to stop. Well, I'm sorry, but I had first use of this name and here's my certificate to prove it. Another thing is people getting on the bandwagon of grabbing random domain names and random social media names, or trying to shut down your social media if you have a specific name. If you have that certificate in hand, you can prove to, say, Etsy or Facebook or Instagram that you have the proper protections in place so that your name can't be taken.
Right. Absolutely. So like Caitlin was saying, it really allows you to have that strong evidence that you don't have if you don't have the registration. So a trademark registration certificate is almost like a birth certificate, but for your brand. Like you guys are all obviously born and you can tell us when your birthday was. But if we pushed back, if we were like an airport and we were like, no, we need proof of when you were born, you would have to supply that proof. And so with the way that our laws are set up, that trademark registration allows you to have that proof so that if someone ever tries to boss you around, you can say, no, I own this. Or if you have to enforce your own rights and say, hey, you're copying me and I need you to stop. And here's proof of me actually owning it. You have that in place. The other very important thing about trademarks is that when we talked about those weak automatic rights versus these more powerful registration rights, only with a trademark registration do you get national protections for your brand. So one of the things that make it weak automatically is that you only have exclusive rights to your brand in your region. So even smaller than your state. But if you get that registered trademark, then you own your brand across the entire country. And BeLive is such a good example of the fact that we are all now running these online businesses. And so having exclusive rights just to your region isn't very helpful anymore. And so you want to make sure that as much as possible, you're calling nationwide dibs to the different brand elements that you're using. So I want to pause right there and just see what's going on in the comments. Never thought about trademarking my show name. Yeah. And so one of the things that I think you guys are starting to think about here is that sometimes we think about trademarks as like, eventually, maybe one day I'll do it. And it's kind of this legitimate looking thing that is optional, but like cool brands have it and big brands have it. And that's not a very helpful way to think about it as a business owner, because until you secure your own trademarks, you might be infringing on somebody else's. And when it is, the example of trademarking a show name is a really good example of that in action. So the way that I see it is like, people are saying, should I trademark my show name or shouldn't I? Well, it's kind of like you're riding a bike and should you wear a helmet or not? So you riding the bike is you actually using it as a trademark. And then should you have a helmet or not is like, should I get the registration or not? Well, if you're riding your bike, you should probably have a helmet. And if you are naming your show, that's functioning as a trademark. And so if you're not protecting it, you're just setting yourself up to run into some type of an issue down the road. And so it's important to think about that so that when you're naming your show or your business name or your slogan, you're doing a proper trademark search to make sure that you're not accidentally infringing anybody else. And that's mistake number 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think another random thing right there is a lot of people assume that trademarks are related to like a physical product. Like you have to show branding on a physical product versus your show or your podcast or something like that. So maybe we could speak a little bit about that too.
Yeah. So when it comes to podcasts, and that's a good example, and this also fits nicely into this third mistake that we're about to talk about, which is that you're not looking before you leap. You're not thinking about trademarks before you commit to a name. And let's use this big example right now because it's trending in the news of Entrepreneur Magazine. So Entrepreneur Magazine owns Entrepreneur Magazine, and they have Entrepreneur registered as a trademark for their magazine. But the trademark office takes everything you could possibly sell and it divides it into 45 different classes. And so the class that Entrepreneur Magazine has the magazine in is in a class that podcasts also fit in, and a Facebook Live show would also fit in. And so because of that, Entrepreneur is a trademark that's registered, that's in the space of magazines, podcasts, live shows, and they want to enforce their rights against anybody else. And so people who are trying to also apply for trademarks for their podcast, if they have the word entrepreneur in it, Entrepreneur Magazine is going after them, forcing them to withdraw their applications. And so this is what I mean that you want to look before you leap. Even before you think about trademarking, when you're in that naming stage, you want to make sure that you're thinking about trademarks so that you're naming it in a way where you're not stepping on anybody else's toes. You can avoid those issues. And a lot of people don't think to run proper trademark searches. Let me know in the chats. I'm super curious. Have you ever gone to the trademark office's website to run a trademark search before? Because a lot of people, when they think about names, they go to GoDaddy, they run a domain name search. Maybe they check social media and see if the handle is available. More and more people are starting to use this free trademark database search. And it's free, but it is a little clunky. And so that being said, it's a great place to start just to make sure that the name that you are wanting to use isn't already taken. And Caitlin, because I know you guys, again, like I said earlier at the beginning of this episode of this larger show, when I first brought Caitlin in, I was like, dude, I just need help with like setting up my client folders. And Caitlin is like a VA rock star. And so she just kept showing like how much she was capable of and taking on more work and then starting to do client work. And so I've trained her like with the entire trademark process, and she helps my clients with this. But Caitlin, can you talk a little bit about how just running that search with the trademark database might not be as helpful as you think it is?
Oh my gosh. I remember the first time I even went to the USPTO website, and guys, if you haven't been, it can be so scary and so overwhelming. So definitely listen to Joey when he talks about how to run a trademark search, because it can be super difficult. So number one, when you run a search, you'll see things that may not even have gotten approved, but it's still listed there. So it could look like it's live when it's not technically. Another thing is marks that have been submitted but have a pending office action. If you don't know what an office action is and you don't know what that means, then you could say, oh, well, they're using this mark and they can get away with it, so maybe I can in a different class, but they might have a pending office action that you're not aware of. That's another thing that can be super overwhelming. And then also just being aware and cognizant of the different classes. Like you said with Entrepreneur Magazine, they have it in a certain class, but let's say you wanted to trademark the word entrepreneur in part of your phrase in a different class, that's totally acceptable. So if you're not aware of those as well, that can really throw you over if you see it in a different class.
Yeah, there are a lot of potential different just pitfalls that you might not be aware of. And that's what we want to try and do today, you guys, is just make you aware of certain things so that you don't take action and you're not even thinking about things that you don't know. The reality when it comes to trademarks, as you guys might know, one of the cool things about trademarks is that as long as you're in the US, you can apply for a US trademark on your own without hiring an attorney, which is pretty empowering for business owners. The problem with that, though, is that most people who apply without working with an attorney end up getting a rejection. So over 50% of trademarks who are applied for without an attorney end up getting refused. And one of the biggest reasons why a trademark gets refused is because of this thing called a likelihood of confusion refusal. What that means is the trademark office looks at your trademark application and says, hey, there's another trademark that's either pending or that's registered. And even though it's not the exact same as yours, it's similar enough that we're going to refuse your application. That type of a response is actually pretty common, and it blindsides so many business owners because they're not thinking about how broadly trademark rights can protect other businesses and brands. And so that's just another thing to think about as you're conducting your search before you even start your own application. I want to see how the comments are going. Corinder says, Caitlin Allen, where can we find you?
CaitlinAllen.com.
Nice. And Caitlin, you're on Instagram. Like that's like your favorite social media spot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Alicia says, yes, I've gone to USPTO to check always. Now I have an attorney search for me. Love that.
Ross, is that how you say her name? Ask about, is it a worldwide thing or by country? So right now we're specifically talking about the USPTO, so applying for your trademark here in the United States.
Yeah, so trademarks are pretty interesting. You can technically apply for trademarks at the state level. Nobody really does that anymore. I don't really recommend it because you might as well just apply for it at the national level. There is no such thing as an international trademark or a global trademark. But what you can do is apply for your trademark in multiple countries. And there is an international treaty that the U.S. is a part of that says if a trademark is registered in this country, then we're going to make it easier for you to have that same trademark be accepted and a part of our registered trademarks in these other countries. That is a pretty advanced, like, ninja area of trademark law. But if you are conducting business internationally, that is absolutely something that I think that you would want to make a priority. And if you're not in the US, by the way, I would absolutely go to a trademark lawyer in your country, because trademark laws are slightly different in every country. All right. So before we get into the last mistake, I just want to highlight something. And Caitlin knows this very well. We did some research, because the reason, you guys, why we do trademarks right now is that when I started my law firm years ago, I was doing everything for business owners. I was helping them with their contracts. We were drafting terms of use and privacy policies. We were doing, like, independent contractor and employee documents for people. But over and over again, trademarks were coming up as this legal thing that was blindsiding business owners. They didn't know that they should be thinking about it. They thought that it was something that they could take care of later. And all of a sudden, something happened. And it wasn't just like one flat tire on their car. It was like all 4 tires got flat, and their entire business was, like, brought to a halt because they received this cease and desist letter and they had to change their brand, or they received a infringement notice through Facebook that said that their entire site would get shut down unless they made some changes. And so, because trademarks were this issue that people really weren't talking about, that was affecting so many kind of rising digital CEOs, rising business owners, we decided to focus on that. And what we found when we started doing our research was that about 20 years ago, 100 trademarks were registered in the US, about 100,000. And that was in 1998. Is that 20 years ago? 21 years ago?
21.
So that year, a little under 100 trademarks were registered. Last year, almost 500,000 trademarks were registered. So the number of registered trademarks is going up like crazy. You guys know that entrepreneurship is booming. And it's the writing is just kind of on the wall right now, where if you're not calling dibs on your trademarks proactively, because of so many people who are starting businesses and who are coming up with their own names for things, you're just having increasing chances that you're picking a name for something that somebody else has already started using. And so that's why running this search is super helpful. And it brings us to our 4th and final mistake that we see people making. And this is a big one, which is they wait to take action. They run a search. They see, okay, I'm kind of comfortable with the results. I think I'm okay. And then they decide, you know what, eventually I'll file for a trademark, but right now I think I'm fine. This happened to us a few times, but one, it was just really sad last year, where a client came on board with us. We ran the search. Everything looked okay. And then our process within our law firm is always to try and submit the application within 2 weeks or within a week after the search results are approved. But some things happened personally with this client, and it just took a while for us to get back on the same page with them. So about 2 months later, we were able to get a hold of them again, file for the application. But during that time, another business filed for a trademark. And because we ran our search when we did, we obviously didn't see that trademark that someone applied for in the future happened. And so it's very, very important when you're running these searches, just to keep in mind that those searches that you run have an immediate expiration date. And that really is a snapshot in time. And as great and important of a step as it is, don't lose sense of your momentum, and make sure that you're getting your own application submitted as quickly as you can. So checking into the comments, I've known that to happen with business names, similar names being shut down when they were in different states here. Yeah, this is becoming definitely a bigger issue in terms of so many people using names where it's harder to come up with a name, a trademark that's available. USPTO has an easy to use trademark search. That's true. They do have a search that is kind of easy to use. The problem is that it's hard to analyze those results. A lot of people run the search, and because they don't really understand how the trademark reviews and analyzes searches, a lot of people either they see things in the results that make them scared, that make them think that they might be infringing somebody else, when really those results aren't things that you should care about, or they're running a search for something and it doesn't pull up similar trademarks. And so when they file, they're told that it's being declined because of a similar trademark that they didn't even see when they ran a search. For instance, when you apply for a trademark, one of the things that the trademark considers is, are there any other trademarks that are kind of the same, but they're in a different language? So if you apply for something and somebody else owns that word or that phrase in a different language, that probably wouldn't show up in your search, but the trademark office would find it. All right, you guys. So we are going to stick around for as long as we can for the rest of this. Those were the 4 big mistakes. I'm going to go through those again, but I also just want to be mindful of responding to any of the questions that we're seeing. So Caitlin, I'll chat for a little bit and you can go through the comments and see. And if anybody wants to hop on live with us and ask a question or share an experience, we would love that as well. So BeLive says, do most trademarks get accepted? Most trademarks do not get accepted if somebody applies for them on their own. And you guys, I'm just being real here. Like, I understand that there are certain services like LegalZoom and others that exist. The problem with those cheaper alternatives to working with a lawyer is that currently with the technology, they're essentially just like form filling services. And so they have a form asking you certain questions and you answer them. They take the form responses and they submit an application. But because there's no strategy on the back end or calling out things that might either increase the chances of it getting accepted or increase the chances of you actually owning a trademark for what you offer and not something different, there's some strategy involved there. And the point of the trademark office, you guys believe it or not, is there are thousands of reviewing attorneys at the trademark office that review each and every application. And it is their job to find something wrong with your application. And as business owners who are trying to apply for trademarks, that is frustrating. But as businesses in general, that's pretty reassuring to hear, because it means that they're trying to do everything that they can to prevent others from really easily having words and phrases trademarked. Because the way that our society exists is there shouldn't be a monopoly on language. And so, you know, Apple, the computer company, they can own Apple as a trademark when they're talking about their company. But that doesn't mean that none of us can just kind of use Apple in a more generic term when we're talking about the fruit, because that would really kind of disrupt the way we're talking about things. And so hope that answers your question. In terms of working with a law firm, that usually improves the odds pretty drastically. But I will say this, and this is something that I try and tell my clients when we start working with them, is that when it comes to filing for trademarks, this is a very proactive area of the law. And it's not like getting an LLC where you just kind of do it, it's instantaneous and like you need it when you start. Ideally, people should be filing for trademarks as soon as they can in their business, just to have this protected, because as your brand becomes more valuable, as it would be harder to do a rebrand, then it can be more and more frustrating when you run into any issues down the road. That being said, when you apply for a trademark, and this is what I tell my clients, we're either going to get the result that we want or the lesson that we need. Hopefully, you know, we're working with you, we're crossing our fingers along with you that we can get that registration for you. But if there's some issue with a similar trademark that exists, or a bigger company that really kind of enforces their trademark against others that might not actually be that similar, but are close. It's good to know that up front, because if you're going to have to pivot and rebrand, it's better to do it in this more proactive space than when you're on the receiving end of a cease and desist letter or an infringement report here on Facebook or on Instagram or Etsy. So
the other flip side of getting that rejection letter as well is knowing that other people with similar names probably won't be able to get a trademark as well. If you're walking that fine line of you're not infringing on somebody else's mark, but you didn't get a registration.
Right. Yeah, no, it can be really nice just to play defense there, knowing that you're at a place where you've coined a phrase and you're owning it, and you're just making sure that others are respecting, the value that you're providing. And really, when it comes to trademarks, we used Apple as an example. There's different types of trademarks that you can have when it comes to naming strategy. On the one end, you can try and claim something like Entrepreneur Magazine, like it's very descriptive or generic. But if it's more like Apple, you're really using a word creatively. And if you're in that naming stage where you're naming maybe your Facebook Live, BeLive show, or the entire name of your business or the name of a program, if you're currently naming something, remember that the more creative and distinctive your name is, kind of the further away it is from being just super descriptive of what it is that you do, the more powerful it is as a trademark. Because the point of a trademark really is for it to be like an empty vessel, where over time the trademark is valuable because of the brand reputation that you built. So
I'm going to pop in with you guys for a second, if that's okay. I have some questions about pricing. And I think for a lot of people watching, especially if they're new in business, they're just starting out, they're not sure even like how to go live or how to do any of this stuff. And then we're adding a trademark on top of it. They're like, I can't afford that. But I wanted to kind of talk about the alternative to that, right? Is that you do end up branding yourself. You do end up getting some notoriety. You do get all this stuff. And then somebody comes to you and says, and you have to start over.
Yeah.
Talk about the cost involved with that as well.
So I understand. I mean, I'm a business owner myself and I get it. It is an investment. And for people who are saying, can I afford this? Can you afford not to?
Can you afford a rebrand when you get a cease and desist letter?
And when we're talking about this, because this is such a good question, it's not just the money that goes into it. It's also your time and your mental energy.
The peace of mind.
These are those situations where when they happen, all those other things that are on your priority list, from your promotion to your own going live to having all of these automated funnels that kind of use your own branding, all get pushed aside by this new issue that takes up all of your time. And it's so many, I just have so many businesses who they don't take care of this stuff. And even if at the end of the day, when your business is completely done 10, 20, whatever years from now, you might not have a trademark problem ever. But the longer you're in business, the more stressful it becomes that you haven't taken care of this yet. And so
it's kind of like that voice in the back of your head saying, there's something that you missed. There's something that you missed. And I think that this is really fascinating. And I think a lot of people are getting a lot of great value out of this, because this is not something that we talk a lot about in business. We talk about, especially during LiveCon, we've talked about how to go live and how to be consistent, how to make connections, what kind of lighting to use, what's your computer, like what kind of topics and all of this stuff.
Right.
This is really the back end business side of it. And if you're going to turn your love of live video and sharing your story and your mission with other people, you really need to be out there protecting the business end of it.
Yeah, and you're right. This is almost like the next level of kind of creating this brand. Like, it's beyond the tech. I tell people, when you're in business, you're evolving from maybe a hobby stage to that hustle stage to being in business. But there's a stage after being a business, which anybody can do. You have a business page on Facebook. You go to your bank, you get the certain paperwork. But to actually be a brand is a level beyond that. And in addition to the nightmare situations, having that circle R registration symbol, there's something to that as like a milestone where like, you've made it at that point.
Yeah, it's real then, right?
I've had a client who told me, because when they received the trademark certificate in the mail, they were like, this reminds me of like those brick and mortar stores who they take that first $1 and they tape it to their cash register.
Yes.
This is like that physical, tangible thing that's like, I made it as a business.
Sebastian is here. He was one of our speakers, our incredible speakers before. He wants to know if he can hop on for a minute. Sebastian, if you have that guest link that you were sent by BeLive, you can hop in the staging and I'll turn your mic on, okay?
Absolutely.
And Roz says, I haven't thought about doing a trademark as being that high on the list of importance. Now I can see that it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of the cost, because that's a good question. So you can move forward on your own. Just know that there's a risk there. You can also work one-to-one with an attorney. But because my law firm has narrowed in on this, we've also obviously seen that a lot of people, they can't really invest in one-to-one help. And it's such a foundational thing that we have created a course where you can go through it and avoid the mistakes that people tend to make on their own. So if you'd like to hear more about the course, feel free to message me, but that's not the point of this. I just want this to be helpful for you guys.
That's awesome. G. Samuel has a question. If your name is the name of your online show, would that need to be trademarked? So my name's Leslie Williams. Can I trademark my own name?
Anything can be trademarked. Yeah. Caitlin and I were laughing about this the other day. So yes, your name can be a trademark if you're using it as a trademark. If that's the name of your show, then it is a trademark. Anything that when people see it or observe it can be a trademark.
Yeah, and actually, fun fact, just since I've been working with Joey, we had a client right at the beginning who had a curse word in one of her brand names, and the USPTO was not having it there for a long time, but they just started allowing vulgar words to be part of a mark. So kind of everything is trademarkable.
Yeah, well, you're right. Now vulgar words can be protected, but so can, and you guys will all find this interesting, so can sounds. So the MGM roar is a registered trademark. Tiffany Blue is a registered trademark. Reese's Orange is a registered trademark.
That one blew my mind.
Sebastian is here. He's going to pop in really quick and he's going to ask a question if that's cool with you guys. Absolutely. Go ahead, Sebastian.
Hey guys, first of all, absolutely amazing information. I don't know how many people you're really helping in this who have no idea how much risk they are at when they don't know this valuable information. So thank you so much on behalf of everybody out there who doesn't know what they're doing wrong or not doing at all. So I have a really quick question. So what if I have a business which is producing wines and it is Best Wines Out There? That's the name, Best Wines Out There. And then somebody goes and writes a book, Best Wines Out There in America. Now, should I really be getting crazy about that? It's totally different business. I believe unless I have an intention, or even if I don't, I personally believe that I shouldn't be infringing on somebody else's right to actually have a business that's entirely different than mine. I'm never going to jump into. Should I still be going and giving them a cease and desist? Or can somebody actually give me when it's entirely different industries? What do you think?
Great question. And thank you for the kind words. So here's what I'll say to that. And for those of you guys who might have missed the question, and I'll kind of generalize it here, but it's, when you see somebody who might be using a name or a trademark that you're wanting to protect, but it might not be super related to what you're doing, how much should you go after them if you're kind of okay, but you want to respect what you're doing? And there are a handful of things to keep in mind there. One is that you do have a responsibility as somebody who has trademark rights to enforce your rights against others. But just because another company is using something that's the same as yours doesn't necessarily mean that there's trademark infringement. It's only infringement if they are putting something out there that could be confusingly similar to your brand. So this kind of makes sense once you think about it, but like there's more than one big company out there called Dove. One's shampoo and one is chocolate. So as long as the two brands are different enough that when a customer sees one, they don't think that it's coming from this other source. Like they're not going down the chocolate aisle thinking that a company that also sells shampoo is selling chocolates now. I mean, maybe, but that's not very likely. So if it's not in the same industry, then you're probably okay. Also, keep in mind that not everything being used is necessarily a trademark. So in order for something to be a trademark, it really has to be kind of a brand-wide word, phrase, whatever it is. And the trademark, according to the trademark laws in the US, a book title is not a trademark in and of itself because it's just the title of one work. So it would be a different story if it was like the title of a series of books, or if you were a thought leader and the title of your book was also the title of your signature course and the title of, the speech that you give on stage. That could be a trademark. And then finally, a thing for you to consider is you might not necessarily want to send a cease and desist letter saying like, I want you to stop this, but that doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything. What you can do is send some type of a letter saying, hey, I see what you're doing. And like, by the way, like I'm totally cool with it, but I just want to make sure that in the future, you're not going to expand your business, change what you're doing to infringe on my rights. So would you please sign this contract, this agreement, saying that we're both in agreement that we're not going to step on each other's toes? And that can be a really nice cooperative, good cop way of getting what you want there.
And just for the record, that is a really good reason why you should work with an attorney, because if you come up and you see that after we run a search results letter, that there is somebody who may have a trademark that could be confusingly similar, but you can actually say, hey, these aren't very similar businesses. Your attorney can help you write up a contract to send to them that says, hey, can we coexist at the same time? That's another good reason to work with an attorney.
Yeah.
So Joey, I had a really quick question too, because that Dove example was really fascinating to me because I was like, oh, the Dove shampoo and the Dove chocolate bar, right? Now, does the distinction there also lie within the visual aspect of it? Is a trademark visual as well, or is it just the word?
Oh my gosh, you guys are really good at asking questions. So
we're smart here. We're smart at BeLive.
It can. It depends on how you're applying for the trademark. So most people, especially our clients, if you're watching this show, then when you're thinking about trademarks, you're probably going to be applying for what are called word-only marks, meaning that word or that phrase is the thing that you're wanting to protect. But there's also such thing as a stylized mark. So that could either just be like a logo that doesn't have any words on it, that's like your main logo that you're wanting to protect, or a combination of the logo with, the word or the phrase in a certain font in a certain color. And so you can apply for a trademark that, like, let's say that you have the logo and you have your business name and it's all like in a cute color and a cute font that you had your designer do for you. You could apply for one trademark application that protects all of that. And you might want to do that eventually. The problem is that if that's what you apply for, you are applying specifically for that. So somebody else, if they have a name that's slightly different and they apply for a words only mark, because you don't own the words only, but you own that specific styling, your rights aren't as broad as just owning the words only. So
I think the takeaway with that is that we need to have a lawyer do it.
It can get expensive. Yeah, we're seeing the distinctions here. And G. Samuel says LeBron James found out you can't trademark Taco Tuesday. That is such a fascinating example. And I won't get into it, but number one, it's super interesting. And you're right. He applied for a trademark for Taco Tuesday and it got denied. But what most people don't know is part of the reason why it got denied is because there's another company that owns Taco Tuesday.
Like a physical restaurant or something like that.
You can't own Taco Tuesday. No, somebody already owns it.
That's fascinating. Well, this was so interesting. Joey, how does everybody get in touch with you? Because I think you have like 50 people ready to come and hire your firm right now, including me. So tell everybody where we can reach you and Caitlin.
Well, I'll put something in the comments just so you guys can follow me on Facebook if you'd like to. But the best way to get a hold of us, especially if you want a nice version of those 4 mistakes that we talked about, is just to go to indielaw.com. That's INDIELAW.com. And you can download our free resource that walks you through those 4 mistakes.
Awesome. And we have one more quick question from Alicia. A question about the book. Can a book title infringe on a complete brand?
That is a really good question, and it really depends on the situation.
So Alicia, reach out to indielaw.com, okay? Reach out. Alicia is Sebastian's co-host, so they were on the show the other day, and they were both absolutely fantastic. I want to thank you for spending all this time with us. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some really difficult questions and we made you put your thinking caps on. You are actually our last guest for LiveCon 2019. And just really quickly, I was thinking about this the other day and I was thinking, how cool is it that lawyers use live video, right? Who knew?
You guys, we try and be cool like you.
Yes, and Joey hosts the show almost every Tuesday where he goes live to talk about trademark issues. So you should definitely follow Indie Law on Facebook.
Using
That
BeLive.
is a great point. Yeah, that is a great point. Lawyers Gone Live. Is that trademarked? I'm gonna try to get it if it's not.
There's a great business idea there.
There's a great business idea. Joey, I'm going to contact you privately, okay?
Great.
Caitlin, look out, because we've got a whole new slew of stuff that we're all going to do together. Outstanding broadcast, says Sebastian, and G. Samuel Barrett, good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Everybody say goodbye to our favorite lawyers, Joey Vitale, and say goodbye to Caitlin Allen. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you all hopefully at indielaw.com. Thank you again. And thanks for wrapping up LiveCon 2019 with us.
My pleasure. See you guys.
Bye. OMG, we did it. Who's excited? We have officially wrapped up LiveCon 2019, 3 days, 6 broadcasts, I think 6 or 7 hours each day. So somebody do the math for me because I am my brain's not functioning right now. I used all of my last bit of brain power asking lawyers really difficult questions. I was trying to trip up Joey, but he wasn't standing for it. Sebastian says you make lawyers look cool. Yeah, Joey's a cool guy. I know him actually personally too. So he's amazing. Everybody be sure to get your trademark protected ASAP. So for those of you that have been here with us for the entire 3 days, we want to say thank you. For those of you that just stumbled on the broadcast right now, please go and watch all the replays. We have like 18 hours worth of incredible content. We had so many guest speakers. Sebastian, he cannot say enough about me. That's so sweet. You guys are the greatest. Danette says, thank you. Great speakers over the past 3 days. So we want to give a huge birthday shout out to BeLive. This is their 3-year birthday anniversary. This is LiveCon 2019. We talked about being connected. Having that connection with your audience is key. Everyone's on their phones nowadays. And when you look into that camera and you make a connection with just one person out there, you have made a difference. Staying connected, being confident. We talk tons about being confident. Listen, being on live video does not come immediate. It does not come easy, but with practice, you can look like a seasoned professional with the incredible BeLive interface. We just announced 1080p streaming. We are going to be able to stream live to YouTube concurrently. These are things that are in the pipeline that are coming very, very soon. You now can upload video to your BeLive live stream. You can have cool intros, outros. You can show a video in the middle of your broadcast. All kinds of fabulous announcements. We have our fantastic day 3 winner of the 3 years of live streaming with BeLive, Vincent LaMantia. We hope you're watching, Vincent. And even if you're not, don't worry. Our BeLive producers will get in contact with you and they will tell you how to redeem your 3 years of BeLive. Alicia, you are awesome. Yes, thank you, BeLive, for an amazing, amazing event. Sebastian's already trademarking his name. Nobody take his name. He needs it. Thank you, BeLive. These LiveCons are more than a celebration. They are a gift to the world. Yes, we are going to repurpose this a billion different ways. So keep your eyes open for that. I have one last thing to offer you guys. Our amazing social media manager, Irene, will be hosting a free training on how you at home can produce an event like LiveCon. She is going to be sharing that information on our BeLivers group. So make sure after this broadcast, you can go to BeLivers, request to join the group, and keep your eyes peeled because she's going to show you a real behind the scenes look on how to put something together like this. Because let me tell you something. If we can do it, you can do it. You can't get out of your head charmed. Okay, thanks, Kelly. Congratulations to Vincent. I am super sad to wrap up, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a huge nap. I'm going to pick my son up from school. We're going to go out tonight to celebrate and have a dinner for a job well done from all of the BeLive team. Thank you again for joining us with LiveCon 2019. Again, my name is Leslie Williams, and it has been my absolute pleasure to host for you. Take care.